Okay,
Mhm.
I got it. Ding! Sherron! We're going to talk about hip hop today. This is a hip hop scholar that I have, even though he won't accept those compliments, but you are. So let's talk about how it all began. Who would you say the creator of hip hop is?
Well, it's Kool Herc.
Kool
Wi-
Herc?
Without question, Kool Herc is credited for starting hip hop.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him that credit. I wasn't born then, but you know, that's what they say. So DJ Kool Herc.
All right. Back in the day, hip hop was all about the DJ, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why was it about the DJ rather
Because
than the
it,
MC?
well, the DJ was throwing the parties. So
Okay.
when hip hop began, it was block parties. Um, so it was about the DJs with the biggest speakers, the biggest sound system. The MC was just there to help them along.
Right, right. I actually kind of remember those days when the DJ was seen as the most important person. When do you think it changed? Because it definitely has taken a transition. Like when do you think like that whole shift happened?
Well, it happened in stages, I believe.
Yeah.
When hip hop went to records, it was rapping.
Yeah.
So if you remember early on, like, remember the movies Breaking and
I
like
do.
Beat Street and all that stuff? So I think breakdancing was ahead of rapping at some point. They were trying to monetize that.
Right.
Um, so it kind of went in levels, but at some point, like I think by the time you got to the 90s, mid 90s, the DJ was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would you say the top 10 MCs are? That's a tough one. I
Oh
know.
God.
I know. Top. So we can just throw some out. Okay, so let's start with Ice Cube. All right.
Okay.
What would put Ice Cube in anyone's top 10? For me, it would be his lyrics.
Yeah.
I like syncopation. I like subjects and predicates. I like that. Um, but that's where I come from. I come from listening to that type of flow. I guess the kids would call it flow
Yeah.
today, but it's syncopation. So for me, I would put Ice Cube in my top 10 because of his lyrics. He actually has something to say. Although he's political, some people won't agree with him, especially now. He's, that whole situation. But I would put him in my top 10. Would he be in your top 10?
Easily.
Okay.
Without question. Without question. It's hard to argue with, you know, Straight Outta Compton,
Yes.
America's Most Wanted, and Death Certificate in a row. Um, Three perfect albums in a row. Um, he was on fire. I think because so much time has gone on and he's a movie star, people forget how big he was and how good he was. And he still continues to do it. Uh, not at the level of 30 years ago, but he's still doing it.
Right.
So easily top 10.
Hmm. And lethal injection too. You
That,
don't like why don't you like lethal injection?
that to me, that was the fall off. That was the point where he started falling off. I
Why?
don't, I don't hate it.
Okay, okay,
Predator
okay.
was very good. Lethal
Man,
Injection was like,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
for me. It was the beginning of the end, in my opinion.
What I am the West?
Couple
You
good songs.
right,
Couple
right.
couple good songs. I was
Yeah,
disappointed in that one. I was
yeah.
disappointed. I honestly haven't loved the Cube album since 92, 3. It's been a
It
long
changed.
time. Yeah,
So
but he's had good contributions. It's not like I'm not calling him whack at all. West Side Connection,
you're right.
all this stuff. He's had great contributions, but like really loved the record, not in a long time.
Okay. Who else would you put in the top 10? I contributed Cube.
There's so it changes for me. The list changes by output almost.
Jay-Z?
Yes, Jay-Z. Here's my top 10.
Okay. No pressure.
No pressure.
Because
No,
this is your passion and as a fan and you dissect it. You don't just listen to the beat like most people do. So no pressure, but your top 10.
Yeah, and top tens, everybody's got a different top 10. So it's like there's a little bit of preference sprinkled in there, but I try to look at my criteria: lyrics, longevity, live show, the three L's for me. And
Right.
there's other stuff with there, sales matter to a degree, influence matters. There's a lot of other things, but those are the top three things I look at. So I don't know, where should I begin? I think okay, 10, Ghostface Killer.
Okay. Okay.
Ghostface Killer. And that's a controversial one, I think. Um, but for me, his quality is so strong. It's hard to keep him out of there. And the
Mhm.
longevity. Like they've been
Yes.
around since 93. I don't think anybody expected, like Method Man was the guy
Yeah,
when
he
Wu-Tang
was.
Clan came out. And Ghostface put out the better quality music, and he did it, and he did it, and he's slowing down now, but he had a pretty good run. So Ghostface, number 10 for me.
Why do you think Wu-Tang was such a cultural phenomenon? Because they were. And now the kids today, they're just getting hip to how popular they were because of course the Hulu series that came out a few years ago.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
they,
good.
it's great. And they had a Showtime documentary as well. Um,
I missed that one.
yeah, very good. I think it's
Mhm.
called Of Mics and Men.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Um, that's a tough one. Well, I can speak for myself.
Mhm.
When Wu-Tang Clan came out, I was not really listening to hip hop. In the 80s, I loved hip hop. The
Right.
90, and then when the 90s gangster rap took over, I stopped kind of listening. I still like KRS-One. I still like, some people.
Chuck D.
Still love Chuck
I
D.
mean, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Chuck's a great dude.
Love Chuck.
Um, so my interest in hip hop waned. I was listening to alternative music in
Mhm.
the early 90s. I
Me
was
too.
listening to, yeah, I was big on Pearl Jam,
Yep.
Nirvana, Soundgarden, all that kind of stuff.
Alice in Chains.
Not so much for me.
You
Not
didn't
so
like
much for
Alice
me.
in Chains? Oh,
Not that much.
Yeah, Soundgarden, Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, remember
Yeah,
Blind Melon? Blind
yeah,
Melon?
I do
Yeah.
remember them.
Okay.
Da, 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 da.
There you
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
go.
yeah.
So I was into that stuff. But then
Right.
I heard Wu-Tang, and it reminded me of Rakim and Big Daddy Kane, like the stuff that I
Ah,
really loved in the late 80s.
I see that
I'm like,
connection.
okay, they sound like them. So and I just was all in. So I think Wu-Tang means different things to different people. There's a martial arts element that I'm not really big on, but a lot of people
Shaolin.
are. Um, just grimy New York hip hop.
Mhm.
Uh, lyrics, if you love lyrics, to me, they are the best rapping rap group ever. Uh, you can't like you got 10 guys in a group and everybody can really rap. That's kind of amazing. Um, I can't speak for other people, but for me, they renewed my love in hip hop.
Wow, that's impactful. That's a cultural shift. Like that,
Yes,
that's
huge.
heavy. And you know what? It's funny that you said that because I think Jay-Z was that for me. I kind of fell off too a little bit. I mean, no shade to the gangster rap. I mean, we get it. They're basically news reporters for the hood, right? And in fact, some of them do it because that's marketing and record companies, largely record companies bait those guys to do a lot of that. And it's unfortunate because look what happened, right? Because for
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know a few people who are in the industry and they talk about like they can't really be signed. Like no record company will sign them unless like they change who they are. Several people began as maybe conscious rappers or militant rappers, a variety of categories for that. And then they couldn't get signed, and then they turned into this stereotypical, gangster. And then all of a sudden, those record companies are interested in them. So that's unfortunate, but I think Jay-Z was kind of that culture shift for me. Like I fell off a little bit because it was just a turn off. Some of the music just wasn't. jiving with me, and then Jay-Z kind of, gripped me back into the game a little bit.
You mean it, like, first, like Reasonable Doubt or
Yes, it
something
was
like that?
it was
Okay,
Reasonable Doubt. It was Reasonable Doubt. And then
interesting.
and then the Black Album too. The Black Album was good. A lot of people don't like it. I like it. I like the
Who
Black
doesn't
Album.
like the Black Album?
I had an entire debate with someone about how the Black Album wasn't, this good album. And I'm thinking, like, why not? Like, why not? I don't
It's
know.
like his. I think it's his third best record.
What would be the first two?
Blueprint, Reasonable Doubt, and then Black Album.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, it's up there. It's really good. I
I
don't.
agree. I agree. I
There's some
agree.
songs on there I do not like, but it's really good. Like I've never heard anybody say that. That's
Yeah.
surprising to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super Jay-Z fans, they take it personal. So you really can't,
Yeah, Jay
argue
Z
with people
fans
like that.
are something else. Jay Z
Yeah.
fans are, yeah. Anyway,
So Wu-Tang for you.
Ghostface. Yeah,
Ghostface,
Ghostface.
Wu-Tang, and who's the next? Number 8.
Common.
Ah, of course.
Another controversial one, but for me, like I'm from Chicago. Like
Right. It's a
I
good
know he's a South Sider. I'm a West Sider,
West.
but it's not even the Chicago thing so much as the longevity.
And
Like
his
for
lyrics.
lyrics, 1992 till now, he's still semi-relevant. Like,
Yes.
he's not what he was 15 years ago, but you'll check out a Common album here and there. Like he'll put out some good music. Um, lyrics, for a while, he was one of the best.
Hmm.
I'll say from 94 to '07.
Right. That's the B album era.
B album was 2005,
Oh
I
wow.
think.
I didn't realize it was that late. Okay.
Yeah,
So what
2005.
so when did One Day It'll All Make Sense come out? What year was
90,
that?
97.
Okay, 97. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, 97. And that might have been his lyrical peak. I don't know, but he was versatility. He can, do it all. He does the battle rap. He tells stories. He has songs for the ladies. He's very versatile and
Mhm.
slept on.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like his acting so much, but his music, I mean, I'm a fan. Like even this last couple albums I didn't love, but there's something on each one of them that I really liked.
I agree.
There's something there. So
Hmm.
again, and freestyling, like he has every element. Like he can do it all. So Common is number 9 for me.
And he was actually, I don't know if you've seen this, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they just
Yeah.
had their ceremony, and he was on there with Shaka Khan.
Oh,
Yeah, he did, her song I Feel for You.
yeah,
He
Melly
did
Mel. Yeah.
he did Melly Mel's part on the Rock and Roll
Okay.
Hall of Fame. It just came, so you can check this out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's maybe 3 weeks ago or
Really? Okay.
so.
Okay.
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
check that out.
yeah,
That's,
absolutely.
that's dope.
But
They
yeah,
couldn't get Melly Mel, or it was just the Chicago connection. I wonder.
I know it must have been the Chicago connection because she talked a lot about, and it was awesome. I'm happy she brought that up. Shaka Khan was talking about her relationship, how close she was with Fred Hampton.
Oh,
And she spoke about how she got started with the Panthers, and then she started singing with Rufus. So she brought Rufus out on stage, which was great. And then she just spoke about she gave much love to the city of Chicago and what they did for her. And she spoke about the staple singers, and she just talked about how if it wasn't for Chicago, she wouldn't be where she is today. So that was very much appreciative
yeah, that's
for
dope.
Chicagoans. And then Common came out with her. But I think that's what it was. It was a connection. Because I'm pretty sure they could have got Melly Mail for that.
Man,
And,
Melly Mel's a character. He might have wanted a big check for
Mhm.
it.
And she's like, I feel for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Exactly. Yeah.
So who's after Common?
Man, again, it shifts. Like if you ask me 6 months from now, it'll be totally not totally different, but guys will be my maybe 3 through 10 or 3 through 12 will be different. It changes based on what have you done for me lately kind of thing. Um, and other things, but I got to go Big Daddy Kane.
Okay.
Uh,
I would agree with that.
yeah, Big Daddy Kane. People forget again. He's a guy. He's only hurt. He would have been number three for me. He was for a long time, but he doesn't make music anymore. And
Mhm.
you know, I interviewed him once, and he's just like, "For what? Like, why should I?" And I understand. Um, Funny story. And his last album was 1998,
Wow.
Veterans Day. And I remember going to, oh God, what's the name of that record store? They don't exist anymore, record store.
Tower?
There you go.
Yeah.
Tower. I went to Tower Records with this girl, and I'm like, I'm looking for Big Daddy King. It was on like a Mercury label. It was very limited. You could not find this album. And I'm like, I'm looking for Big Daddy Kane. And she's like, isn't he old? This was 1998. This guy came out in 1988, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
10 years later, he's considered old.
Wow. Wow.
So if you look at now, people really consider him ancient, right? But every time you hear him on something today, he still kills it. He's still incredible. He's still great live. Um, his first two albums are perfect. Um, he has all the elements. Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah. Why do you think he fell off? Like, I mean, it's by choice because
No,
MCs have is was it the business? Because MCs, that's a talent.
I don't think he
You know?
fell off.
Those conjunctions, linking those words up, you know? Especially back in the day, MCs. We're not talking about MCs today who rhyme cat and hat. We're talking about real lyricists. Big Daddy Kane
Yeah,
was a lyricist.
he still is. Still is. I think that's a deep dive.
Yeah.
Um, he he's a victim of the gangster rap boom, but
Mhm.
he also chased the R&B hits too hard. There was a time where he after I Get the Job Done, it was like he had to have that R&B song, and people were getting more like the Onyxes and the Wu-Tangs, and
Yeah.
so he was kind of different. So you saw him kind of change a little bit, and it wasn't authentic. Um, and then he just kind of like went away. Um, I don't I guess it's falling off, but I hate to say that about him.
Mhm.
I don't it happens to everybody.
Right.
You know?
Big Daddy Kane is in my top 10 too because he was a total package. And
Mhm.
he was one of those rappers that actually danced too. Like he used to hit
Yes.
that split and
Still
then
does.
and then remember my man would come and put the jacket on him like James
Yeah.
Brown.
Yes. Scoob and Scrap. I mean, he still does the routines.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a showman. One time he did a show here in Chicago at a place called the Shrine, and um, they had this basement where the media got to
Oh,
meet him and stuff. And the question I asked him was, "What's the recipe for putting on a great show?" And he said, these kids today, it was based on my question. I don't want to come off like he's like these kids.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
but he
Stay off
based on,
my
yeah,
lawn.
no, he wasn't like that at
Right,
all. It was based
right.
on the way I formed the question, but he was like, they have no one to pattern themselves after. Like he was mentored by Dougie Fresh, who to me is the best live performer in hip hop ever. And Dougie Fresh showed him, you know, the Jacksons, the Temptations, whoever,
Wow.
and Dougie Fresh showed him all these things. So he built up his game. And who do the kids, I guess it was about 10 years ago. So he's like, who do they have to model themselves after? The hip hop stage show kind of took a dive for a long time. But Kane still incredible.
Right, right. Wow. Yeah, Kane is definitely at the top. And people followed him because if you remember when he came out, you had a lot of rappers trying to be like Kane, but they really
Yes.
couldn't, you know, they
People
didn't
love
have it.
Jay Z. Jay Z. is a complete ripoff of Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's a compliment. I'm not dissing Jay-Z.
No, no, not at all. No
That's
wrong.
like two Brooklyn guys. Like he took what Kane did and took it to a whole other level.
Right, right. And that's the best form of flattery. I'm
Yeah.
sure Kane is like, yeah, yeah, thank you.
Oh,
you know?
well, yeah. Well, he did mentor Jay-Z.
That's what's up.
Jay-Z was on his fourth album. Daddy's Home was fifth album. The album Daddy's Home. Jay-Z's on a song called Show and Prove, and that was the first time I ever heard. Or the second time I heard Jay-Z from Jazzo, and then he was on that song.
Okay.
And this was 2 years before Reasonable Doubt, so he was, what's the Nas lyric about Jay-Z? Um,
Which one?
on Ether.
Oh,
He's like
oh,
you went from Kane to Irv to Big, right?
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
He was like partnering
yeah.
with all these guys to help him get
Ether?
on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ether.
yes, yes, yes. To Jazz, Kane, to Irv to Big, right? And
Yeah.
and Jay-Z used all that and built himself up.
Yeah. Nas would be in my top 10. Would he be in your top 10?
Of course, Nas is top
Yeah.
three for me.
Yeah. Nas is
Nas,
the man.
Nas is top three. Yes, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah. In fact, I think the biggest rap argument is what was the greatest diss song of all time? Was it Ether, or was it I'm Bad, or was it No Vaseline?
Hold on, I'm bad is not a diss song.
People think it's a diss song.
No, I'm
Well,
bad.
LL,
Yes.
people consider that a diss song
To who?
to the rap world.
I guess you could take it that
Well,
way.
people
Nah,
consider.
that's
I put
no.
Ether. No Vaseline is amazing. Like
There's no better diss song than No
Q,
Vaseline.
like that is one question I'm sure someone needs to sit down and just get a flat out honest answer. Like, how long did it take? Because when you're angry, sometimes you can just go. It don't take much. But
Yeah,
like he hit every single just
he dissected the
I
whole
just
world.
just
Yeah,
yeah, basically. Like he had a thesis and he just went with it through the end. It's crazy.
it's there's nothing close to No Vaseline.
Yeah.
Ether I thought was very good. Kumo D had a great line, a great quote about that. He said, "Takeover was the better song, but Ether had the better lyrics." And I think the beat for Ether just kills it. The beat is not great. um, but you're focused on what he's saying.
Right.
That's the important thing, and that's the gripe with Nas with a lot of people is the beats. People
Who
don't
does he
like his
work
music.
with?
Nas,
With his beats. I mean, who supplies his beats?
it's somebody different like almost every album.
Oh,
His last 6 albums have been with one person, which has never happened. Hit Boy.
interesting.
But before that, it was like a collection of guys.
Yeah.
So I think Nas is he's about the words. Like some people, the words mean more than the beats, and he's
Hmm.
he's one of those guys.
Yeah. And that's why I like him actually. That's kind of where I am with Q. That's why Q's my number one, just because those
Mhm.
lyrics, you can't I think his mother was a school teacher, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a common pattern with a lot of those MCs. Lauren Hill, her mother was an
Yeah.
English teacher. Paid in full. Rakim, I believe he comes from his mother was in academia. So a lot of
Okay.
that, yeah, a lot of that translates to those artists
Hmm.
for sure.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it makes a lot of sense when you find out kind of like little nuggets about their background,
Yeah.
how they
Yeah.
rap, how they put those words together. It's pretty, it's awesome. Like you just
Yeah.
can't get any better than that.
It's really amazing. And when you hear people dismiss or diminish hip hop or rap, like they're not listening to the right stuff because there's some stuff that'll blow your mind. Um, very detailed, technical storytelling. It's not easy.
It's not.
It's
It's
not
not.
easy. And to make it sound good, to be on beat, make it sound good it's not easy. It's a skill.
And it takes a really talented person to have longevity.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
if you're a part of the fad, then you're kind of in and out, right? And we've seen that
Yeah,
come and go. But when you have talent and substance, you can stick around.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah, for
definitely.
sure. Who else would be in your I guess we're on number 7. Who would be number 7?
Chuck D, Public Enemy.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Chuck, what can I say
What
about
can you
Chuck?
say? I know.
Uh, Chuck is slept on by those who know,
Yeah.
but you know those who don't know need to learn. Chuck
Yeah.
D, I think, loses points from people because his flow never evolved. It did from the first album to the second album, but after that, he's kind of been the same. But his lyrics and what he's saying, uh, outstanding. To this day, he still drops gems.
Yep.
Again, longevity, 1987 to 2024. Chuck D still has something to say, and those first, to me, first four albums from Public Enemy, all masterpieces, especially the second
Mhm.
one. So
Mhm.
I think, it's a people like to argue it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Probably the greatest rap album of all time. It's probably 1A for me. It's tough. It's up there.
Yeah.
It's up
It
there.
takes a nation. You can play a 1 all the way through.
I
All
still
the way through.
I was just playing it Tuesday. Like it's like it came out yesterday. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like it's still relevant. It still bangs. Like that's such a great record.
Yep. All
So
the way
important.
through. When
Yeah.
someone asks me, like, what my favorite records are of all time,
Hmm.
that's always in my top 3, along with,
Yeah.
like, Stevie Wonder's, um, As, the album with As on it.
Songs in
Something
the Key of
Kill Your
Life.
Life, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that it's you can play it all the way through,
Yeah.
so
So it takes a nation and millions to hold us back is right there with songs in the Key of Life.
it is. It
How
is
amazing.
it is up there, like, it's
Yeah.
not a lot of course, Lauryn Hill albums up there that, she
Yeah.
won all those Grammys, duh, but,
Yeah. That was
like, I mean, it's rare, and people know this, like, especially from a business standpoint, those record execs, they want you to have a couple filler songs and all that stuff, but when you have good music, you can play it all the way through.
yeah.
There's no filler songs. There's no songs to kind of, just throw in the track to finish an album for monetary purposes. It's like just a good album,
Yeah.
you
Great
know?
album. Great album.
Absolutely. Chuck is
Yeah.
the man. Only reason Chuck is number 2 on my list. Only
Okay.
Cube is 1, but only reason Chuck is number 2 only is because some of those Cube albums, man, he just,
Yeah.
you know,
Cube was on fire. Cube was on
yeah.
fire, but I would put Chuck's first four against Cube's first four. It's close.
First 4, it is close. It
Yeah,
is close. It is close.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
It's
that's
close.
it's probably equal. It's probably equal. Those first
Yes.
out the gate albums from both of them. Yeah.
It's good writing, good lyrics, excellent beats.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
Because I know we're gonna have some Eminem fans. Where's Eminem on your list?
Top 10?
Is he in your top 10? He's
No.
not in mine either. In fact, when I say this, I have to always talk about him in hip hop
Yeah.
because he has a following. We know that he has a following. And I'm just not really a fan of his lyrics and like the syncopation. That's something that I pay attention to, but I know a lot of people don't, it's subjective, do as you please. But for me, I like lyrics and syncopation and kind of that's just where my brain rests. Why wouldn't you necessarily put him in your top 10?
He's close. It's
Mhm.
not like he's 50 or something.
Right,
He's
of
he's
course
in my
not.
he's in my top 20.
Of course.
Somewhere between, 13, 14, 15, something like that.
Mhm.
He why isn't he in my top 10?
People don't know the history of hip hop, so oftentimes he's placed all the way up. And I'm not saying he's not a great MC, but oftentimes people don't know. the people who came before. Like you were able to link Big Daddy Kane and Jay-Z. The average person can't do that. Or say someone who doesn't know the history of hip hop and rap can't do that. People
Well,
who've been around, like you and I, who listened to it literally from the beginning, literally, we can say
yeah,
that, rap just turned 50.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so there's a lot of people who just jumped in the game and say, they just started listening in 95, right? And they haven't took the time to go back or even care to. And why should you?
yeah.
They're just casual listeners. They should, why should they?
Right.
But why shouldn't you why isn't he in your top 10? I'm just
He,
curious.
he's in the ballpark. Like it's not
Mhm.
again. He's Eminem.
Of
Like
course.
I'm not. He. Why isn't he?
No one's hating.
Quality of albums.
Mhm.
Um, I those first. Well, his first one with Dr. Dre. The first three with Dr. Dre, good albums. After that, falls off dramatically, in my opinion. His skills have never diminished,
Of course not.
but subject matter, he'll give you glimpses of something special,
Mhm.
content wise. But the vast majority of it is uh, heavy punchlines, drug music, um, shock value stuff. And, it ain't really my thing. As a wordsmith, God, I love that. I love Eminem.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
absolutely love him. I think he's a scientist. He's a student of hip hop, and you saw it in his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. He thanked everybody,
Yep. Yep.
and and he's always done that. That's not new. He's always given props. I
Yep.
love Eminem.
That's
I
what
just
that's what I like about him.
I wouldn't put his album quality up there with the guys in my top 10, but he's almost there. He's just outside.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that is you pretty much hit the nail on the head. His quality of albums. And for me, it's he really didn't evolve. Like when he first came out, he had shock. And what I mean by that, he had shock value. Everyone's jarred by the things he says. Like if you remember back in the day, this was wow, probably 22 years ago. I'm kind
Mhm.
of gauging where I was at the time. And he had that interview with Mark Wahlberg on, and I haven't watched MTV in probably 20 years, but I remember this interview when he was just going, he was jabbing at Mark Wahlberg. Because
Really?
you and I are old enough to remember when Mark Wahlberg used to rap. He used to get down right with his Calvin Kleins on and the like.
Marky Mark.
Yes, and Carson Daly chose to have them both on set for whatever reason at the same time. And Eminem just kept jabbing at him, saying stuff like, "We're all standing here like a nice bunch." Like, you
I never
know,
saw that.
oh yes, I'm sure it's available on any platform at this point. But yeah, it's like those jabs, in his music, he just like talk about something else. Like we get it, you're gonna call people names and it's funny, but I just wanted to see more, evolving.
I think he evolved. He's got to be 50 now. So his more recent
Yeah, he's about
music,
50.
it's a little bit more evolved. It's just not, it's like, and it's not a knock on him. It's like everybody, like Stevie Wonder's prime was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And, he did some good stuff in the 80s and 90s, but he did
Oh
some corny
yes.
stuff. He also did
Yeah.
some bad music,
Stevie's the
right?
man.
he he also did I Just Called to Say I Love You.
Hey, come
Right?
on now. You just called us out. Look, what's wrong with that? No.
It's not a great
Yeah.
song.
It's the hook. It's the hook. I think maybe that hook should have been like maybe a line. And then it's the hook.
It's the music for
I
me.
don't think that hook that shouldn't have been the hook. And it's catchy, I get it, but I don't think that should have been the hook. Maybe like the beginning paragraph of the song and then he needed a new hook. Yeah. Yeah. That's not
Okay,
one of my favorites, but
not his best moment. Not horrible, but not great.
yeah.
And it's this. You could say the same for most hip hop artists, and Eminem is
Mhm.
one of those. Like
Mhm.
he'll still put an album out and sell a
Of
million
course.
copies in a
Yes.
streaming era.
Oh,
Like
yes.
it's his fans are diehard fans. Um, but for me, it doesn't move the needle.
Eh,
There's nothing I would ever go back and listen to again.
oh wow.
Recent
Yeah.
music?
Yeah. Like
No.
he would probably still sell out, I think he could still sell out Madison Square Garden.
Easy.
Yeah, I think he could.
Easy. That's not a Yankee Stadium he could sell
Even better, yeah,
out.
because his fans, I'm thinking about his fans are probably in their mid-20s now, his particular fans, and then they're probably,
No.
yeah,
Eminem fans? No.
I think you think they're older?
40s.
You think?
Yes.
Yeah,
40s. Remember, he's 50.
he is 50. Yeah, he has to be about 50.
Yeah, so it's like 40s, 50s his fans are.
I guess that is about right.
Yeah, those 20-year-olds don't know anything about
I
Eminem.
see them with those shirts on all the time. You know how
Yeah.
that's the new craze now. Maybe you don't have a lot of experience with the youngsters. I see those Eminem t-shirts all over,
Next
you
time you
know.
see one, ask them five Eminem songs.
Yeah.
Ask them to tell you five Eminem songs they
That-
couldn't do.
yeah.
It's fashion. It's
That's
like people.
posing.
Yeah, we used to see people in Bob Marley shirts and
Oh my goodness.
yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's or Nirvana. Nirvana's another.
Nirvana shirts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Red Hot Chili Pepper shirts, all
Yeah,
that stuff. Yeah.
Wu-Tang. Yeah, it's just a t-shirt.
Yeah. All the time. I see them all the time. So yeah, they're probably posing. But I definitely gauge their fans. And I'm like, do you, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, man, do you know? Do you really know Eminem like that? you know? Who else would be in your top 10?
Where are we at? Six.
Yes.
Ice Cube would be six. We've discussed Ice Cube.
Right.
Uh Ice Cube is Ice Cube. Five, LL Cool J.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Is it because of the relevance?
Everything. Lyrics,
Yeah.
longevity, live show.
Yeah.
The guy has hits on top of hits from 1984 5 until the mid 2000s. He was making hits.
Yeah. When did Headstrong come out?
Headstrong was
That was
probably 4,
2005-ish.
5, 6, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Okay.
took 20 years.
Okay. So yeah, that's where I was going with that. Right. So
Yeah,
that was like his 20-year mark right there.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I saw him this summer perform,
Nice.
and they did the Force tour. He's got an album coming out with Q-Tip that I can't wait to hear. fully
Wow.
fully produced by Q-Tip. I know the world is like, I'm excited about that one. Um, so he toured with all these other classic hip hop acts, and in Chicago, it was the Roots backed him. So it was the Roots, Rakim, Common, Dougie Fresh, and Slick Rick, Bone Thugs and
Oh
Harmony.
wow.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Damn,
The
let me see.
highlight of my year. It was amazing.
Wow.
And LL looked like he was 19. Like
Still do.
he still has it. And it was such a good show because he was doing deep album cuts. Like you
Yeah.
had to be a real LL fan to enjoy, like you had to know these songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in heaven. I absolutely loved it. LL, his first, again, people don't like the third album. I kind of like it, but his first four albums, amazing
Mm-hmm.
to me. Um, and he still managed to make hits. I didn't necessarily love his albums after that, but each one of those albums got a jam.
Right,
Each
right,
one.
right, right.
And you know what has become one of my favorite LL songs is the Pharrell one. Love You Better.
Okay.
It, I'm like that song hits me for some reason, man.
Right.
That is such a good song. So he knows how to make hits and great live show, underrated lyricist.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, very underrated, very underrated. So LL is top five.
And he went through a little bit of a controversial, I would say, shift with the record company because that's how we got Mama Said Knock You Out, right? Because he was kind of going through some things. It was either with his record company or he couldn't really find the right song. And then he spoke with I think it was his grandmother. And
Oh yeah.
he was having that kind of counsel with his grandmother, and she
Yeah.
was like, "You just got to go in and knock him out." you
Well,
know?
I think that was the phase. Like there was a time he was the guy, and people won't remember this because it was 1987. But the guy sold 3 million records in like sold 3 million records in
Mhm.
1987. He was the biggest thing in the world.
And what's it what was it was that Crush Groove? Which
His
one?
second album, Bigger and Deffer.
No,
There was
no, the movies. Wasn't
he
he
was
in like
he was in Crush Groove.
okay, okay, got
He
it.
was in Crush Groove. He was in something else. He did a lot of little
Mhm.
movie parts back then before he got heavy into it. But the guy was huge, on top of the world. And here comes Rakim. Here comes Big Daddy Kane. Here comes KRS-One. These guys knocked him off the throne. And his third album was, I liked it, Walking with a Panther, but most people did not. Uh, I mean, it had some bad songs, but overall, I liked it. So I think yeah, he was definitely trying to make a comeback. And that was his grandmother's like, knock him out. And he
Yeah.
did. To me,
Yeah.
he made his best album with
Yep.
Marley Marl. Like
Yep.
Mama Said Knock You Out is his best work.
Mhm. I still listen to that song this day when I'm getting ready to go work out. That song pumps me up, you know.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
can't. It's the entire like rhythm that pumps you up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree
That's
that.
yeah, I found I it's hip hop is such a beautiful thing. I remember being on a plane and it was iPod, I had an iPod.
You're dating yourself. You had an iPod. You had a-
I still have two iPods, but I,
Why?
why?
Yes.
Just because they don't I mean, what am I gonna do? Toss them? I don't
Right. No, don't do that.
know. Like
You still
I
have
don't
music on it.
I do,
Yeah.
but I don't like take anything, it's just there, right? But
Hmm.
no, this was years ago. And I don't know where I was going, but I put every Sly and the Family Stone album on my iPod.
Nice.
And that song came on. I don't remember the name of the song. Maybe Underdog. I forget the name, but that uh, Mama Said Knock You Out sample, Sly and the Family Stone. I had no idea.
Wow.
Like, whoa, this is crazy. And Marley Marl's a genius. The
Wow.
underrated producer, one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, yeah. Uh, that album is incredible. And not a single curse word on that album makes it even more incredible.
100% because you don't have to drop that to get people to listen to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is beautiful. Who would
Mhm.
be number 4?
KRS-One.
Yeah. Chris Parker.
KRS.
Chris Parker. He's the man.
He's been one, two, three, throughout time. Uh, Again, I think people forget how good he was from 87 to 97. He really didn't dip. Uh, he had a good 10-year run of great music on Jive. Um, Always has something to say, even today.
Yeah.
Uh, Live show, again, he's in his 50s. His live show has dipped, but for a long time, he was the guy on stage. Like nobody was touching him for a minute.
Right.
Um, he has all the one thing Chris lacks is versatility. Uh, you never got a KRS One love song really.
No, that's not
I think
happening.
there was a couple in the later years, but that he was about to struggle, and that's okay. That's good. He's never changed. So yeah, KRS One. It would
He's
be
got
for.
Mr. Parker is going to tell you to read. He's going to tell you what books to read, why you need to read. I
Yeah,
appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I agree. I am a big KRS1 fan for sure. Who would be number 3?
Nas. I got Nas number three, and that's hard. It's like again, these guys could shift next week for me.
Right,
um,
right.
they're all close together. Everybody's contributed. This is so difficult.
What would
Um,
be your favorite Nas album?
my favorite Nas album,
Hmm. Because
Illmatic.
yeah,
Illmatic.
oh, yeah, it
I
matters.
mean, it's tough. I like it was written a lot. I like um God, what's the one from 2012? This is gonna drive me crazy.
Is that the one with
Life is good. Life is
okay.
good. Yeah.
Which
Um, is that what it's called? What about his wife,
oh
Khalees?
yeah, with the wedding dress on the album.
Yes,
Okay, that's
yes,
it. Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
yeah. I like
Mhm.
that one a lot. I pretty much like all Nas albums.
What
There's
about
not
Stillmatic?
like it. I like it.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't think it was good as people made it to be. Like it got five mics in a source. I'm like, are you serious? It wasn't that good, but I think they were playing into the beef at that time.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's still, I still play that out.
Mhm.
Love Stillmatic.
Mhm.
Not five mics though. I love Nas again.
Mhm.
Longevity. This will be his 30th year coming up.
Oh my goodness. And he's still on tour. One of my friends just seen him in St. Louis.
There you go.
Yes, he's still on tour. He's still doing the thing.
Still doing it and doing
Absolutely.
it well. I saw Nas early on, not early, but 96, so his second album.
Oh wow, that's a good kind of that's the DMX era, you know? So
No,
that's
a little bit before DMX. So this was like it was summer 96. So yeah, it was written and he was terrible.
Chicago?
Chicago. Yeah. Yeah. I saw him at the Congress Theater
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
and I forget who was there. Somebody else, OGC, I forget who, but he performed and Common came up there and freestyle with
Oh
him,
wow.
and a fight broke out in the crowd, and they both looked horrified and just left the stage. It was such a weird ending, and it was not a good show. I saw him again in '99 when he dropped the I Am album. He was
Oh
terrible.
yes.
Nas was a terrible performer for a long time. And then I saw him with Damian Marley, right? Is it Damian Marley? Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
When they did their album together,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it totally changed Nas. Like it made him up his game. So
Okay.
Nas is one of the best live performers in hip hop right now because
Wow.
I think he learned
Right.
From Marley, and I just saw him with Wu Tang and De La Soul a couple months ago.
Where?
They did a whole tour called the New York State of Mind.
I don't
So
know how I missed
I
that. I don't know how I missed that. Wow.
don't know. Did they come to it?
Nice. I
I
don't,
mean, they yeah, they came here a year ago with Busta Rhymes, Nas, Wu, and Busta Rhymes, and then they came back again, replaced Busta with De La Soul. Amazing show,
trying to
amazing.
think.
Nas still has it. Nas is amazing.
I
He's
know.
just turned 50
Yes, he did.
and still dope.
I know they came to Philly. I know they were in Philly. I have
Had
to
to be.
check. Yeah, it had to be in Philly. What what year is that? Oh no, this was like 96. Yeah,
Mhm.
this was like 96, 97. What album was that with the genuine cut? That was just definitely not a traditional Nas album. What
That was 99,
90?
Nostradamus.
Ah, there we go.
Nostradamus,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did he switch up producers? Like what brought that on? Because I remember that, clearly enough to be able to say that was kind of like a line in the sand. Like what was going on with that?
Well, that was Timbaland. I mean,
Ah,
I don't know why people like it was not a bad record. But for Nas, people are like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
yeah. Yes.
Not a bad record.
Yes.
And he performed that song actually on the tour.
Yeah.
Uh, I think his that album leaked and it was on the street, like people had it. So I think they just went back in and chopped a bunch of stuff up and threw some new stuff on there.
Yeah.
So and if I'm correct, they just re-released the original version. So I Am and Nostradamus, I think was one album.
Oh wow.
And because it got leaked, they just changed some things around. So he dropped
Mhm.
two albums in that year. And the Nostradamus was later in 99 and everybody hated it. But it wasn't up to par with the first three records, no.
It was a shift. It was
Yeah.
definitely a shift. But I mean, yeah, it was okay. But I wouldn't put that album in any of my top Nas albums for
No,
sure.
no, no,
No.
no, no, no. He wouldn't either, I don't think. I don't
I
think
didn't know
he would.
I didn't know that was Timberland, but it makes sense. And
Yeah,
Timberland's a
yeah.
great producer. Don't
Oh, yeah.
don't get me wrong. Missy just made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well
Yeah.
deserved. That was amazing.
I,
Uh,
I feel a certain way about Missy making the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
why? Why?
Well, no,
Get it
I'm
off
not
your
going.
chest.
Okay, let me get off my chest. It's not against Missy. Missy deserves it. I think there's a pecking order though that those people have no idea about. So you're telling me, and it's not just Missy. I feel this way about Tupac and Big too, and Jay-Z. Um, how does Missy make it before Salt and Pepper?
I had that thought with myself.
How does uh you know Outkast not even get mentioned? Um, Wu-Tang Clan not even mentioned. Eric B and Rakim, they got nominated. Their name was in the pool like twice. Nobody ever picks them. At least they threw their name out there. God, Salt and Pepper gets nothing, and they were huge.
Yeah, I remember
They
those salt and pepper days.
influential, super influential. So does Missy deserve it? Yes. Does Missy deserve it ahead of Eric B and Rakim, Salt and Pepper, Outkast, Wu Tang, Snoop? I don't think so.
Yeah,
What
she
about
got it.
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah. And she was the first woman, first female rapper inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Missy Elliott. So
Hmm.
she and who help me out here, who was didn't Angie Stone, most people forget this, but she was a rapper back in the day. Angie Stone, she used to rap with a crew.
Yeah.
Um, and they are known as some of the early female rappers.
Yeah.
Angie Stone and her crew before she became, Angie Stone, the
Right,
queen of
right, right.
so that same
Yeah.
Angie Stone people.
She did. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, she made it. Missy Elliott made it, and it's well deserved. I'm a big fan of Missy, but I will say
Yeah.
I'm a late bloomer. Because back in the day, I liked Missy, but I was just
Yeah.
listening to other stuff at the time. Like I was listening, Timbaland Magoo, they had their click. He
Yeah.
just passed away. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah.
But they had their click, and I was just kind of listening to other stuff.
Right.
But by time Missy started really rising to the front, I started to listen to her lyrics and realize that she actually was good, not to
Yeah.
like play her left, but because
No.
I remember early Missy, remember when she was with she used to be on a lot of Puffy albums back when Bad Boy
Right.
he was
She did
featured
the
on, yeah,
MC Light remix. Yeah, she was just popping up on remixes and stuff like that. Yeah.
a hundred
Features.
percent right. So I was just kind of like, I've seen that before. But once that entire album came out and I can't stand the rain, it was like, okay, well,
So original.
you know.
So dope. Um, versatile. Very good albums. I love
Mhm,
Missy. I do
mhm.
love Missy. And it's not a slight to her. I
No.
just the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't know anything about hip hop. And I felt the way, and Chuck D got hate for it, but he's like, there's no way Tupac should be in before LL Cool J. LL Cool J is the first solo, and Curtis Blow a little bit, but he's
Yeah.
the first solo superstar in hip hop. And he was like Eric B. and Rakim. They just kept brushing him off, brushing him off, brushing him off.
Wow.
And they put Tupac in, they put Big in, they put Jay-Z in, all these people before LL Cool J. It's they don't know hip hop.
Popularity. And you know this, better than anyone. As time goes, either people forget or they lionize you. And you and
Hmm.
I know Tupac was amazing. I
Hmm.
remember him well. I remember where I was when he was shot.
Yeah.
I remember every part of his career because I was a fan. I was alive, number one,
Right.
and
Right.
I was a fan. And same thing with Biggie. I was alive and I was a fan. So I agree with that. As a person who was listening to the music at the time, those albums were great, but I definitely was shocked that he got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame so fast. But a lot of that has to do with, you know,
I
untimely,
mean, he
deaths and stuff
deserves
like
it, and
that.
that's not the thing. I'm
He
none of
does
these,
deserve it.
all of these people deserve it. Everyone who's in there, hip hop wise, deserves it.
100%.
I just think other people should have been in before them.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I think the eligibility is 25 years after your first
Yep,
album or
that is
something like
correct.
that.
That's why Nirvana got in on the first ballot. Yep.
Again, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't know hip hop.
Right. And I felt that way, and I know people are gonna think I'm hating, but I was once again, I was alive, so I was listening to Nirvana at the time,
Yeah.
and I was thinking like I knew they would get in because of Kurt Cobain
Yeah, yeah,
situation,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
was thinking like I don't know if that the first time, like the first time they were eligible, they were in, and that's
You
fine. That's fine.
you'll appreciate this. I had this discussion with somebody recently. This guy comes up to me and he's like, D Rose, Hall of Famer. And I said, not on the first ballot. Um, I think if he had stayed healthy, excuse me, if he had stayed healthy, easily first ballot Hall of Famer. Will he make the Hall of Fame? He might not. But they just put Maurice Cheeks in a few years ago,
Yes,
right?
they did.
Um, there's a lot of guys up. I think recently they just announced a new potential class, and it's a lot of guys. You're like, man, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So Derrick Rose has a shot. It might not be first ballot. It might not be second ballot. It might be 30 years from
Ouch.
now. It could be, but he's gonna make it, in my opinion, because
But
he's got the MVP, the Rookie of the Year,
Mhm.
the
Scoring.
he doesn't have a scoring title, but
He didn't
he's
win the scoring title?
no. He's never been like a top scorer, but um, for the Bulls franchise, I
Mhm,
think he's top 10 in a lot of
mhm,
categories.
mhm,
Um, he has two gold medals with the Team USA
mhm.
World Games, um, three state championships. It's, and people forget too. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame.
Yep.
It's the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yep, yep.
And they probably took the Memphis thing Final Four away from him,
Oh,
but he's done all this other stuff. So there's a chance he will make it. So, you know, it's comparable.
and I'm gonna tell you, that's probably the most devastating like, when it comes to injuries, I think
Yeah.
D Rose career and there's, Elton who's the other one? Greg Oden was another one who was kinda hit
Oh,
with
that was
injury. But D
yeah.
Rose, like he came out the gate, from Chicago to the Bulls. Everyone's excited. It's all this hype around the city about him. Chicago, we're thinking
Yeah.
we're back on top, 6 championships already. It's time to bring it in. And then things started to crumble. But, those things happen. And
That's
he's
I
still in the
mean,
league.
he's still in the league. Grant Hill made it. I mean, I know Grant Hill had a little longer
Mm,
time at the top, but it was like 7 years. Grant Hill, most of his career was not great,
mm,
and he's in the Hall of Fame. So,
mhm.
we'll see.
I think it's a popularity contest.
The Hall of Fame?
Mhm. When it
Uh,
comes to that. I mean, Grant Hill, it's plus he went to Duke, so he had that in momentum.
yeah, and he won championships there. Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, hold on. Didn't Ben Wallace make Ben Wallace is in the Hall of Fame?
Did he make it?
Yes.
I mean, he deserves it. Remember those Pistons team, and I'm not
I
even
don't know if you do you
I can't
really
even
think he
say
deserves
that. Like, my computer might blow up. I can't talk about the Pistons. Bulls fans, we don't get down like that. But those
Yeah, but
Pistons teams were nice.
Ben
Ben Wa
Wallace Ben Wallace couldn't make a layup to save
what?
his life.
You want to pay for
But
that?
listen, for his size, amazing defender,
Rebounder.
shot blocker, rebounder.
Mhm.
Yeah. Hall of Famer? I don't know. He's
It
in
was
though.
that team. That team got him into
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame. Because if I, who Tayshaun Prince was on that
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Rasheed
Chauncey,
Wallace, Chauncey Billups.
Rip, Rip
Yep.
Hamilton. Yeah, it was a
Yep.
great team.
Yeah. So
But
that team got him in, and that's good. That team got him into the Hall of Fame. That's what you want, you
yeah.
know. And if
Yeah.
Draymond Green can, act right, you
I
know,
think he's on his way. He's on his way.
I don't know that Golden State team. I don't think they have much time together. They're gonna
Oh no.
implode. They're
Yeah,
gonna get broken up.
time is due. It's been like 10 years.
Yeah, and
It's
Draymond is just he's always got dark liquor energy. It's just always Always.
That's
Someone
why.
put someone put together a reel of all of, and
Yeah,
it looks so bad. That's unfair because it happened over a span of years,
yeah,
almost a decade. But someone had the time to put all of it together, and it's just you don't give people that much ammunition. It
it's
was
funny.
horrible. It
It's
was
funny though.
horrible. He chased one guy all the way down, pushed him. Like, come on, Draymond.
Yeah,
It's all
he's
good.
yeah.
Draymond's good. So who's your number three? Who's your number
I
three?
said number three was Nas,
Okay, Nas is number three. Who's your number two?
Jay-Z.
Have you ever
I
seen him in concert?
several times.
Yeah.
Several times. Again, he's a guy like much like Nas and Damian Marley. Jay-Z not great early on. Um, I think he the first time I saw him was Hard Knock Life.
Hmm.
So it's Redman and Method Man, DMX and Jay-Z headline.
Wow.
So he had like superior on stage performers coming before him. He couldn't compete with those guys. He was
Oh wow.
good because he was hot. He was the hottest thing
Hmm.
in 98, 99. He was hot, but he didn't have the personality and the energy those guys had.
Hmm.
So it was a little bit different show. So I'm growing, growing, grow. Then I saw him perform with Kanye. And Kanye is like a master showman. I think Kanye took Jay-Z to a different level.
Hmm.
He made him see things bigger, like stadium stuff. So Jay-Z's great live. Amazing, amazing live. Jay-Z's number two. Him and Nas go back and forth for me. Um, I prefer Nas's music, but I think Jay-Z more consistent with the quality.
Hmm.
Um, and bigger hits. Um, longevity. Like
Yeah.
Jay-Z gets busy. Jay-Z's, you know, he might be the most influential guy ever. He's one of them.
Wow.
He might for this generation. I think so.
Yeah. What year did oh gosh, 50 Cent called that album golf course music? You know what album I'm talking about? The one when he
That
had the song about OJ,
was 17, 2017,
2017.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
a 444.
Yeah.
I love that album.
Me too. Me too. I like the diversity of it.
Yeah. It was like grown up Jay-Z. It was like here's a guy talking about his marital issues, his mom, his like we got rid of the coke rapper Jay-Z. You know what I mean? And it was
Yes.
like finally a man
Mm-hmm.
talking about man stuff. It has
Mm-hmm.
daughter on the album. Loved it. I
Yeah.
know people didn't like it, but I think it's up there. It would be right behind Black Album for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it too. I was a fan of that album. But you're right. He was it reminds me of T.I. Remember that T.I. Paper Trail? That was T.I.'s
Mhm.
album where he was grown up. And that's what I like. I don't want to hear someone who's 50 years old talking about doing something that we know you're not doing at 50. And if you are
Right.
doing it at 50, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, you got a problem.
So yeah, I appreciate the trajectory of that. Same thing. Like now I can honestly say I'm a T.I. fan because I
Mhm.
see the growth in him and then I see the growth in his music. And that's the same thing I like with Jay-Z for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Who's number one?
Rock him. Rock him's for my money the greatest of all time.
Okay.
He is Michael Jordan of rap.
Okay.
Um, nobody was rapping like that before him.
Yeah,
And he influenced everybody else I named today.
absolutely.
When people say used to say change the game, he really changed the
Yeah,
game.
he
Like
did.
literally changed how people rhymed. Multi syllable rhymes, slower flows,
Yeah,
uh, dropping knowledge. Um, he had it all. He had it all. The storytelling. The one knock on Rakim has always been his live performance. Um, he's very, laid back dude. He's a monotone, laid back
yeah.
guy, but it's
Mhm.
like a jazz musician. He's like you don't come to him for Busta Rhymes stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's different.
Right.
So his show, I've seen him be great. I've seen him be okay. I've
Yeah.
never seen him bad, but I've seen him be that was all right. But and I've seen him amazing. I saw him in 1988. I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the Dope Jam tour. To this day, it's the best concert I've ever been to. Ice T opened the show.
Oh, you got me at iced tea. Absolutely.
Ice
Absolutely.
T, Biz Markie, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Boogie Down Productions, KRS One,
Of course.
Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh Crew, Kumo D, and Eric B. and Rakim.
Wow.
Best show I've ever been to. And Eric B. and Rakim closed the show. They were amazing. Um, he was ahead of his time. He changed the game. I would argue his first four albums, I put them up against anybody.
I agree.
First four
Agree.
albums, anybody. I think we talked about Nation of Millions. I think Paid in Full is the best rap album of all time. Nation of Millions right behind it.
Oh, would you put the actual song played in full as the best rap hip hop song of all time?
No, no. I
You
mean,
would put the best rap song of all time. Would you
that's
say
so
Paid in Full?
no.
Okay,
That's such a big.
it
There's
is
been
a
a
big
lot of
question.
rap songs.
Yeah,
That's a big thing. I
I
would
mean
have
the
to say
song Paid in Full. Like if you're listening to the lyrics,
it's up there.
yeah,
It's up there. That's a song I think most people can recite
word
word
for
for
word.
word. But for impact, probably the message, Grandmaster
Ah,
Flash and Furious 5.
ah,
That's an important record. It's so hard to do with one song. That's an important record. Rapper's Delight is important.
yeah.
Um, what's Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg? Nothing but a G thing.
Oh
Like
wow.
people
Yeah,
can you can recite that
yeah,
record word for
yep.
word, and it's timeless. Um, it's hard to say, but Painful's in the ballpark. It's up there. But the album, I think people dismiss it a lot. But if you go back, Painful was on there. I ain't no joke. Eric B for president.
Yeah, yeah.
My my melody,
Yes.
move the crowd. Like that album was incredible. And like the one song that was kind of like the filler song was God, what I can't think of the name.
I know if someone was casually talking to you, it would have came out, automatically, but the fact
Yeah,
that you didn't.
what oh God, what was the name of it? Now it's gonna drive me crazy. But the song Eminem remade it. Not remade it, but he took from it.
Mm-hmm.
I am
Sample.
the way I am. No, he didn't sample, he took a part of the lyrics and made it his hook. The way
Oh, oh wow.
the way I am. I'm the R, A to the K
Oh,
I
that's
am.
right.
What
That's
was it? So why
right.
would I say I am?
That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Um, that album is it's a masterpiece to me.
Mm-hmm.
Painful is the best rap album ever to me. And Rakim is the best rapper ever to me. Um, I know I got into this discussion with someone on Twitter once and they were like, well, he hasn't been good in a while. And I could see that. I could see that point of view. Um, and it's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's him as much as it is circumstance, business. You know what I mean? Like his first solo album to me was very good, but it came out at a time where Puff Daddy was the biggest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Um, and there was a lot of other stuff going on. You know, Busta
Correct.
Rhymes was big, Jay-Z was big.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, where does Rakim fit after 5 years? So it kind of it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Premier was on there. Pete Rock, Clark Kent. It was a very good record, but it kind of like didn't hit like it could have. The album after that, not as good. The Master, and it was like I think in his book he said they didn't give him the same budget for producers and stuff like that. So I think his decline is not skill. It's it's in other things.
Right. It's the music industry.
Yeah, I think so.
The
I
music
think so.
industry.
The last record he put out by himself, and you could tell. Like
Wow.
it was not good. He had
Yeah.
his own little producers on there. You know, when you're funding stuff by yourself, like people really production is better now. His last album was 2009, right? It's been a
Mhm.
while. I think you can find better producers for cheap today, but sampling issues, like you got to pay for samples. Like you got to like all that stuff costs money.
Yeah.
And I think the same applies to KRS-One. I
Mhm.
think not being able to have the big backing that they used to have from the labels has hurt their careers.
Wow. And that's why, that's why I respect Master P so much,
Mm,
Percy Miller. It's because he went out and like, look, I'm gonna start my own. I'm
yeah.
going to sign all these people and be the judge, jury, and executioner. I don't want to, I'm not necessarily a fan of the things he talk about, of course,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but as a business person, as a businessman, Percy Miller, you have to respect that. And people who don't, they're just jealous and they're hating because that man, he did it.
He was a blueprint for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Would there be a Cash Money without No Limit? I don't think
Right.
so.
Right.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and yeah, didn't he learn from people in Oakland though? I think he was in Oakland.
He was out in California and kind of, well, that he networked, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah,
networked. But yeah, you're right about that. Cash Money, I mean, that's the blueprint. And Percy Miller, Master P, No Limit. They were a cultural shift. You mentioned Ain't
yeah,
Nothing But a G Thing. That album was, I mean, that song by itself, The Chronic.
yeah,
But I mean, a cultural shift. Just complete people who didn't even like rap could rap that entire
yeah,
song. Ain't nothing but a
yeah,
G thing.
yeah. It was
Um,
such a movement, such a
it
movement.
was. And the
Yeah,
message too, you mentioned the message a
yeah.
while back. You know what? I used that in one of my papers in my PhD program years ago, and the professor gave me a bad grade. He was pissed.
Why?
'Cause I was right. I was right in the political. You know how I am, I can get off the cuff sometimes with my politics, and I was
Okay.
talking about, a political issue and how rappers, the song, The Message is like a jungle sometimes, it makes you wonder, right? So I was
Hmm.
using all those lyrics, I cited it, and he didn't like it. He was racist. Yes, that's right, I said the R word because he was, and I know where I was at the time, but I was proving a point. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was supposed to do. And that same piece of literature that he didn't like, I sent it to someone else and they loved it. And that was
Mhm.
published. So that
Wow.
never let anybody, dismiss you like that. It was the topic, it was the fact that I was able to back it up. His conservative views were in contrast to mine, and that's all that was about. But yeah, I even cited, Grandmaster Flash and then the record company because I was proving a point to say this is what's going on in certain areas, right? And this is what these individuals are explaining. So yeah, absolutely.
That's dope. That's so
W-
dope.
and I'm right. I'm
Yeah.
definitely right. I mean, I don't even have to, we can even move it forward with NWA, even though again, I'm not a fan of things they chose to rap about. But hey, they were talking about things that were happening in Compton. Okay. So and now that movie is a couple years old now, Straight Outta Compton, I guess 5 years old now.
Like 10
Um,
years.
wow, has
I
it been that?
think it was 2015. Eight,
Wow.
8, 9 years. Yeah.
Wow. And now people can kind of have an opinion about it. But again, you and I were alive when that music started. And it's like
Yeah.
people who at the time, maybe from the East Coast or the Midwest or the South, they had no idea what was going on in Compton, California.
I,
So,
yeah. I didn't know what Compton was. Again, I saw NWA in 1988.
what
Uh,
tour was that?
that was that tour from the movie, the Straight Outta Compton tour. It was such a bizarre bill. It was JJ Fad,
Oh, wow.
Kwame, DOC, Kid and Play, Too Short, Easy E, and NWA. And DOC was the opener, I believe. Nobody knew who he was. It was before everything. So
He opened solo and then he performed with NWA?
He did not perform with NWA.
Interesting.
He opened the show. Like when people were walking in the building, DOC came on, did his little 3 songs and left.
Wow.
Yeah, and nobody knew the songs. It was before the album came out. And then JJ Fad, then Kwame, then Kid Play, and Too
Mhm.
Short. And NWA came out like one by one. And it's funny. I remember coming back and telling my friends, Ice Cube is going to leave them. Seriously, because he was so much better than them. Like
Wow.
they first Ren and Dre come out and they do 2 songs. Then Ice Cube comes out, he did like 4 songs, and his energy and he was just like so
Yeah.
I don't even know charismatic. He was charismatic.
Mhm.
And Easy comes out last, and the energy it just drops. Easy was not a rapper. He didn't have what Cube had, that charisma. And it's like the show just took a dive. They probably would have been better doing all their songs together instead of separately because
Mhm.
it really stood out how good Ice Cube was.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I saw them and there was fights everywhere. I'm 12 years old, right? It was like, in Chicago's big gang culture. And it was like they did gangster gangster and it was like you know, the folks, the gangster disciples in
Yes,
Chicago,
the folks. Yeah.
they got charged up and they got to fight. And I saw people beat with belts and it was just chaos. I'm a 12-year-old kid. Yeah, it was not good. Great show, but you see what that kind of music, what kind of crowd that brings. Um, and after a while, they stopped booking hip hop in big buildings like that. For
Wow.
like the Tupac and Biggie era, those guys rarely performed in big arenas. They did
Mhm.
clubs because these people are not going to pay to have their place ripped up. So there was a gap in hip hop where there's like the stadium shows kind of dipped, but I did see NWA. I'm grateful I got to see them.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, but that music, you know, I know a lot of people. Are you familiar with the comment Special Ed made on Drink Champs a while ago?
No, I don't think so. What did he say?
He said NWA brought the destruction to. He didn't really specify to everything to hip hop kind of, and West Coast dudes, Exhibit, Dog Pound, they're like threatening him, right? And they ain't dead serious, but I believe he's right. It's not their fault, but everything changed after them.
It
It's
did.
it's it's not their fault. It's a copycat thing.
Yep.
So they're big and they're talking crazy on records. Let's find 50 more groups to talk crazy.
That's what record companies do.
That's what they do. And that's the destruction he's talking about. That
Mhm.
happened. I know the West Coast people disagree, but that is what happened. A lot of NWA copycats came out of Straight Outta Compton and the second album. So Special Ed was right. I know people are mad at him, but it's the truth.
Right. And I agree with that. Maybe Special Ed, and I used to like his music back in the day. I don't know
Yeah.
where if he's still making music, but maybe he should have articulated it better and said the record companies, because that's who's driving this industry.
Yeah.
Maybe if he would have been honest and said, these guys are just choosing not to sign people who rap like Rakim or rap like Common or Jay-Z. Maybe that's it. Because once again, we're old enough to say when that shift happened. Like I
Right.
remember when for example, Bone Thugs and Harmony, when they first came out, then you start to see these copycat groups of everybody's trying to rap real fast. So that's what record companies do because they're trying to get paid.
Money.
And of
Money.
course, Illinoisans, we had already knew who Twister was.
Right.
And then, like, when Bone came out, Twister started to get more popular, but people from like Chicago were like, this dude was like first, we knew him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's a trend. It's a
Yeah.
trend for sure.
Definitely. 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 But the trend, this particular trend, I think is and was dangerous. Um, because I'm telling you, like in my era, I got to see Chuck D, KRS-One, and
Yep.
Rakim, and Big Daddy Kane. All these guys super positive.
Yep.
X-Clan Poor Righteous Teachers after
Oh,
that. Brand
yes.
Nubian. And it changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't about black power or positivity, Latifah.
Yep.
It wasn't about any of that anymore. It became about money, drugs, whatever. Um,
Violence, misogyny, all
yes.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And that became hip hop. That's not hip. That's like what those companies are pushing. That ain't hip hop. Uh, so it's dangerous. And the problem is it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Record labels have less power than they used to, but they still exist. And a lot of what they push is not positive.
Yeah. And I don't think that they care. But what I wish
No.
is that more of the people who have the talent cared. And I know they want to get paid. Don't get me wrong. Some people come from very humble beginnings, very, very humble beginnings. So they're trying to get on how they get on. So no one's criticizing them. But I just wish people were more cognizant of just realizing what you put out. You're being exploited. That's what you are. You're being exploited. And there are some names I want to say,
Go ahead,
like
say
Sexy Red and the like,
them.
stuff that I just can't get down with. And I'll agree, that's not my generation. It's not for me. But people are just being used, they're being exploited. And I
You
don't
just feel sad for Sexy Red. Like I feel sad. It makes me feel sad. Like because it's like I don't know. And I hate to be like judgmental. Like
know.
I
It's not
listen to Two Live Crew, right? Like,
it's the youth.
yeah, I listen to a lot of crazy stuff. I
Yeah.
listen to Ghetto Boy. I love Ghetto Boys to this day.
Scarface. He just had a tiny desk.
Amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, Scarface is one of those guys on the fringes. He could be like 9 or 10 on my list. He's
Hmm.
like 11 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but Scarface said some crazy stuff
He
in his
did.
time.
Hmm.
Willie D and Bushwick, they said
Yep.
some crazy stuff.
Um,
Um, so I hate to be judgmental and I hate to be like the old man yelling at the cloud,
yeah.
right? But
Get off my lawn.
yeah, but when I hear
Yeah.
Sexy Red, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
No, it's embarrassing to me. And it's like she's chest out about it. She's like, this is who I am. It makes me feel a little bit sad for her.
Yeah.
Because she's so much more than that.
Hmm. And the people who are pulling the strings, they know this.
Yeah.
Like, and it bothers me because again, it's not my era. I remember the Latifahs, the Moni Loves,
Yeah.
the MC Lights, the JJ Fad. So I feel like, black women, we don't have to be the tart all the damn time. You don't have to be half naked to get up there and rap. Like Lauren Hill, like, but again, that's generational. I mean, you just talked about that. You remember listening to positive rap,
Yeah.
and then you see a shift with gangster rap, as they call it, and now you see an even more shift with trap music, right?
Yeah.
So it's gone a little further down the pipe, and some people like that, and they're selling a lot of records, a lot of streams. People are making a
Yeah.
lot of money. Probably the wrong people are making the most money, because of
Right.
course we already know the person with the talent on the screen, on the record, they're the last to get paid. That's how the model's set up.
Hmm.
You have all these kids who want to be rappers and they don't realize you're the last to get paid.
Hmm.
That's the model, and no one other than Percy Miller chose to change it.
And there's some other people who kind of
You
did
know,
their own thing. We've
they,
had a lot of, black record labels.
yes, we do.
You know, from I guess Def Jam wasn't technically black at first. But
And
Def Jam at one point, I think Rick left and it was Russell's. So you had Def Jam, you had Death Row, you had
they were
uh
signed under Interscope, Death Row.
distribution.
Okay, okay,
Distribution. But I
yeah,
mean, they had distributors, yeah.
yeah.
And Master P, I think, used Priority for his distributor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
Mm-hmm.
Ruthless Records. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've had a lot of pretty successful black owned labels over the years.
Do
Yeah.
you do you think that rap can take a shift back with popularity?
Okay, back up. Can you repeat that?
Do you think that rap can like go back to being positive or do you think the change has already happened? Because at this point, like you said, you don't want to be judgmental. I get it. Because we sound like get off our lawn. I get it. But that's what happens when you see change in something. You know, you will always have that perspective. And that's a beautiful place to be because for someone say born in 2000, you don't have that perspective that you have, you know, Sharon, on being able to
Well,
say you've seen it from the beginning.
well, I will say this. Kendrick Lamar is probably the biggest rapper in the world right now, and he's a positive rapper.
Mhm.
There's hope. I wish more people tried to be like him, but these guys exist.
Yeah.
Uh, if you look at Chance the Rapper, No Name,
Yeah.
um, there's so many. There's a kid in Memphis named Luca. Incredible.
Okay, I have to see
Uh,
them.
I mean, there are so many dope, positive MCs out there, but they aren't on major labels. You got to dig for them, unfortunately. And
Mhm.
that's something I take pride in with my website. Uh, I've been doing my website, therealhiphop.com, since 2012. And I have some pretty big name interviews on there, like Ice Cube and Chuck D and Big Daddy Kane and DMC and MC Light, legends. But the bulk of my interviews are of underground MCs. The vast majority of them have something to say. I take pride in like giving them a platform because um, not everybody will. Um, the dopeness is out there. You just got to look for it.
Right.
Unfortunately, you just got to look for it. So on a mainstream level, I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know if it'll ever shift back,
Mhm.
but I feel good in knowing that for a while, Kanye West was a super positive guy, right? And he was big.
I remember him from the beginning.
Yes, he was really positive for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely.
J. Cole, pretty positive guy,
Mhm.
big.
Lupe, Chicago.
Lupe,
Mhm.
Lupe, very successful.
Mhm.
So there's been instances of positive hip hop uh, achieving greatness. So I'm not ready to, close the coffin yet, but you're still against the machine.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And back to the record companies, I don't think they want positive rap.
no,
You know, I don't think they feel like it sells,
you
you
know,
know.
it reminds me of I know this is controversial, but the late great Paul Mooney.
You just mention his name and you know.
The late great Paul Mooney, he has a skit that Public Enemy sampled, and he's like, "This can I curse?"
Yes. Yes.
He's like, "This shit ain't by no
Yeah.
goddamn accident. They have
Right.
fucked us up."
Yeah. Yeah.
and and come on, it's not
Yeah.
there. It's the same reason you go to every poor inner city place, and there's a liquor store,
Yep.
there's a fast food,
Check cash in place.
pet cash in, a lot of churches.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's we
It's
we're
it's it's designed that way.
it's we're getting what they want to give us. It's definitely designed that way.
Mhm.
It's not by mistake.
Yeah.
And we really in a couple year span went from KRS and Chuck D to, you know,
Yeah.
niggas with attitudes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and gang West Coast gang culture on records. And
Mhm.
that's real.
Yeah.
Uh, and even not to diss the West Coast, the
Of
East
course.
Coast too. Like
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls took from that,
Yeah.
and he was super violent. His music was violent. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
people we love him, we miss him, but the music was like really out there.
It was aggressive.
Yeah, and that was that era. That was that era, and that's what was promoted and continues to be.
It is. What I hate about it is that we have a youth culture who don't know that it's fake. You know, like they internalize it and it becomes real. They take on what they hear. Do you remember, like, for example, you mentioned you went to that Straight Outta Compton tour, which is
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah,
But do you remember when 3 6 Mafia came out with the song Tear the Club Up? And
I don't remember exactly. I know the song.
but yeah, so people were literally tearing the
Tearing the
club.
club.
So they
Yeah.
so people wouldn't book them, or
Right.
if they booked them, they would say,
Yeah.
"You can't play that song." Like, what the heck do
Yeah.
you mean I can't? That's the biggest hit. That's like
Yeah.
telling Michael Jackson he can't play Thriller. Like, come on now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so they had to like give a disclaimer to the audience, like this song is not promoting, do not tear my club up. So I feel like when the youth, I use that example because I feel like the youth, when they're listening to this rap music, they don't realize that it's fiction.
Right.
It's they're being influenced. And unfortunately, I don't think they understand that you shouldn't go out and do some of these things that you're hearing on the records in the music, like trap music.
I like to give
Some of
them
the
more
stuff
credit than that, but you might be right. I don't know. I think I'm out of touch with
Chief Keef.
Chief Keef. Was again, he's been around for like 10
Yeah,
years.
yes.
Yeah,
Do
Chief
not
Keef.
do what he say. So you can't stay out of jail. That's another Chicago one.
Yeah, we got a few of them. We got a
Yeah.
few of them. You know what's funny though? Prior to starting my website, I wrote for a site that no longer exists, examiner.com, and I interviewed a few of the drill rappers, like the early ones,
Mhm.
the nicest kids you'll ever talk to.
Yep.
And it kind of blows your mind. It's like, y'all really rapping about this stuff?
Yeah.
They're like children. They're like really sweet kids. I won't say names, but I interviewed a few of them, and I liked them all as people, like very nice
Mhm.
people. So it's hard for me to like wrap my mind around the type of music they make.
Mhm. Yeah. It's maybe it's that's their version of acting. Maybe they're just paying the
Yeah,
bills.
yeah, yeah.
Um and you're right. We shouldn't criticize. People have to do what they have to do. They take the talent they have and do it. I don't want to come off too harsh, but no, I've come across several people who are in the entertainment industry who, like you mentioned, are totally different than what they give us.
Here's why you have to come off harsh.
Well, you want me to be mean?
Not me, but real. Okay, let me tell you a long-winded story. So, and I've told this story before, but 1988, the first episode of Yo MTV Raps is on. My whole family, my whole family sitting there watching it, right? The last video they showed, or the first video they showed, was it the first or the last? I think it was the last. Was Boogie Down Productions and My Philosophy. And, the black and white video, Chris is on stage rapping, and in the
Yeah.
back, there's images of Malcolm X flashing.
Uh-huh.
And I asked my mother, I'm like, who is that? She said, you don't know who Malcolm X is? I said, no, who is it? I'm 12, right? I don't know. I've heard the name, but I couldn't connect it to his face. I'm like, I don't know. She shamed me. She's like, you don't know? Like, you're supposed to be teaching me this, right? But no, she's like, you don't know? I went to the library Monday and I got the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I read it and it changed my life. And through hip hop,
Yeah.
my life was changed. And it wasn't just the book, it wasn't just the one day, the one video.
Right.
It was what KRS was saying. It was what Chuck D was saying. It was what
Hmm.
Ice Cube was saying. Willie D from the Ghetto Boys. I
Oh
love
yeah.
Willie D.
Yeah.
And they were, and I told Willie this when I talked to him. I'm like, man, you really influenced me and made me into the man I am. And he said, we didn't understand that we were like uncles to some people.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, you were, like, through music. It's powerful.
It
So I'm,
is.
I'm saying that to say, just like the positivity can rub off on people, the negativity can rub off on people.
Hmm.
So we do have to be harsh, because we do have to be better. Because there's a 12-year-old kid just like I was,
Hmm.
probably listening to Chief Keef or whoever the big drill person is right now. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's important. It's important to, you know, uh, Minister Farrakhan always says, put the right rap in the rap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we need to do.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. That's how I
Mhm.
got turned on to him. I was a kid, and Chuck D has this verse where he says, Farrakhan's a prophet, and I think you better
Good job.
listen to him. And I was
Yeah.
like, I was a kid, and I was in the car with it was actually my dad, and I was like, who's Farrakhan? As a
Yeah.
kid, don't ask a black
Yeah.
man who is Louis Farrakhan. Oh, I got a lecture. So
Really?
yeah, I mean, he
Hold on. What kind of lecture?
a good lecture. I mean,
Okay.
he
Okay.
ran
Okay.
the gamut. He
Okay.
took me through the entire Nation of Islam and
Islam.
the
Yeah.
history about it. And I mean, he gave me the entire rundown.
Wow.
Where it started in Detroit. Of course, Chicago. So of course he's gonna
Yeah.
give you,
Yeah.
all the Chicago history. But that's how I knew who he was. I was a kid listening to that song in the car, and I was like, I turned to my dad, like, who is Farrakhan?
Hmm.
Like boom. So you're right, those things happen.
Yeah.
And it is
S-
important.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with me. Like hearing Chuck, Brand Nubian would put clips of the minister on their albums, and Public Enemy and Ice Cube, and caused me to go, dating myself, listen to the cassette tapes
Yep.
like he used to have. And it's full circle. I don't know if you know, but his son passed away recently.
Oh no.
Yeah, brother Joshua Farrakhan, who I met, funny enough, at an Ice Cube concert one time.
Mhm.
And Joshua was like the sweetest guy, like such a sweet guy. And he I didn't know this till they streamed his funeral, and I watched the
I
funeral.
missed that. I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, 60, I think it was 63. He had a heart
Mhm.
attack.
Okay.
And during his funeral, they talked about how he was the one who talked his father into recording the lectures and selling them, like getting them out to people.
Wow.
His father had no clue. He's like, "Ah, okay."
Right.
And this was late 70s. So he got this tape duplicating thing, and they start pushing out the tapes. And he was the guy responsible for that. That's how I discovered Minister Farrakhan,
Oh
through
wow.
tape. My buddy, he was, we had the one buddy who was old enough to drive, and he always had Final Calls in the car. His
Yep.
sister, his
Yep.
sister, and he always had tapes. So I would listen to Minister Farrakhan tapes, and again, changed my life.
Right, right. Yeah. A lot of people in my family had the last call. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
there is that connection with hip hop. And it does do that. But unfortunately, the bad does happen. Have you ever interviewed any of the more, I would say, modern rappers on the realhiphop.com?
modern.
Like
What do you mean
people
modern?
people who you don't really listen to because like I'm really not a fan of the new stuff because again, I'm not
Well,
knocking it because it's not for me. You understand? So I get it, it's not for me. I like the positive. I'm from give me the old school. So
well,
like because let me think of someone more well, I guess Drake would be recent. Or is he not recent?
like 15 years ago. Yeah.
So you would say that Kendrick Lamar is more relevant and more recent than Drake? Okay.
No, he's a little bit after Drake. no, both big, both humongous artists. I've interviewed J. Cole,
Oh, nice.
which was a interesting, interesting. I don't know how to put it into words, but he was very standoffish. But I interviewed him at Lollapalooza. This was before his a year before his first album came out, and I thought he would be, and he kind of is. I guess depends how you look at it. I thought he would be like the next thing. I thought he would be like Jay-Z.
Right.
Uh, but when the album came out, it was kind of different from what I'd heard from him a little bit. Uh, and as he went on, he's a super successful guy, but
Of course.
um, it didn't happen how I thought it would. We all have those artists where it was like, oh, I thought like Cannabis. I thought Cannabis would be like super huge.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't pan out that way. But J. Cole, I interviewed in, I want to say 2010. Super nice guy, but a little bit standoffish. Um, he's probably the biggest name Rhapsody I've interviewed. Um, I mean, of the people you might know, I'm trying to think.
Didn't Cannabis have a feud with LL for a while back in the
Yeah.
day? I'm dating myself with that.
Yeah, no, not really.
Did they
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
little bit of a
They had
feud?
a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
He
that
came
was
for the king, the
he
goat.
did. He did. Well, LL kind of started that, but
Oh,
yeah, LL's a shit disturber. He
it
started it,
happens.
but yeah. But no, as far as people you might know, probably J. Cole and Rhapsody.
Mhm.
But here's a guy interviewed that I have not. I've interviewed people that I interviewed for Examiner,
Mm,
and then Examiner doesn't exist anymore. So I have all this stuff, and I'm republishing it on my
right.
website. Macklemore, I interviewed
Okay.
before the first album with Ryan Lewis came out.
Yeah.
Um, and he's a super sweet guy. Um, Misunderstood. I kind of hate that he's viewed negatively in hip hop
Hmm.
because he really loves hip hop. Like he's not like everybody
Poser.
yeah, they view the white guys like oh, he's a phony. Nah, that
Mhm.
dude is hip hop. He's just doing his own thing. He's
Mm,
original.
right.
Um, Macklemore, I interviewed YG once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't have that one, so I won't be republishing that. Like a
Right.
lot of that stuff I didn't save.
Oh,
Like what I could salvage, I could. I didn't think to save. I thought the internet was forever, right?
right.
So I didn't save that stuff. Some of it I did, some of it I didn't. Some of it I was able to go back with the what is that thing, Wayback Machine,
Oh,
and
yeah.
get some of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I lost a lot of stuff. A lot of most of my NBA stuff I lost.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah, it's I, big regret because I talked to some Hall of Fame players. I really did.
Wow.
I really did.
And
Yeah.
there's no way to recover it at all?
Not that I know of. I did my best.
Yeah.
I recovered a lot of it.
Yeah.
I interviewed Derrick Rose, Paul George before he was drafted, Alonzo Mourning, uh, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, like so many
Wow.
Hall of Fame guys. Like, yeah, that was yeah, it was a fun time for me. I don't miss the basketball though.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right about, a lot of white MCs do get kinda played to the
Yeah,
left, but like you said, Macklemore is doing his own thing. That's how the Beasties were, like,
yeah,
again, dating ourselves. I remember when the Beasties first came out, like, they were just on some doing their own thing.
yeah.
That's their vibe. They weren't trying to pretend to be, GDs or anything. They were just like, "Look, this is who they are."
They kind of took from Run DMC a little bit, but it's hard not to take from Run DMC.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, they did their own thing. Again, original. Uh, their content wasn't like Run DMC's,
Right.
but you
The
could,
breaking and the scratching and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
get it,
yeah. It
yeah.
was Rick Rubin, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, Macklemore and YG are probably the biggest names that I interviewed in the past that I don't. I think I have the Macklemore one. I think I'll republish that. But uh, when I saw him blow up, I was so happy because like that dude treated me like I was family. He was
Oh
so
wow.
nice, so nice. Um, Tech Nine is another guy who's super cool. Uh, he's a different cat. But
Right.
Tech Nine is a super nice guy. I met,
He's from Kansas City, right?
yeah,
Okay.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
I often I toy with the idea of writing a book because um I met during my time covering the NBA and the WNBA, I met a lot of how do I put this? I had negative interactions with a lot of NBA players. I had positive ones too, very positive ones. But the negative ones, like it was way more negative reactions. In the WNBA, mostly positive. And I had a couple negative ones, but mostly positive. And I often wonder if it's gender or if it's money. Like, are these people like this because they're millionaires? Are these people like this because they're making 60 grand? Like, I don't really know. But on top of that, in hip hop, man, I don't want to say the wrong thing. um, I've met some the nicest people in hip hop, the most kind people in hip hop be the
Mm-hmm.
ones you least expect. And
Right.
the ones who have this persona as this positive, blah, 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 not sweet. You know what I mean? You
Mm.
know who the nicest guy probably I ever met in hip hop was Warren G.
Oh wow.
The guy, super nice, down to earth. West Coast, primarily West Coast people are cool.
Of course.
Warren G's is like a sweet dude. So many of those guys, man. But the further you go east, it gets different.
It gets cold. They get cold and it gets cold.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. And I'm not like painting like it's not
Right.
across the board.
Right. Of
Some people are
course.
cool, but
Of
it's
course.
very different.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. Like, um, yeah, anyway. But I thought one day, like maybe I'll write a book and talk about some of my experiences in both of those worlds because it's interesting how people treat other people. That's something that interests me.
I agree. I think you should write that book, and that's something we're going to talk about off mic because it's
Okay.
not hard. I mean, 20 pages a chapter, 9 chapters. It's not hard, and it can be even shorter than that. You can make it 5 chapters, 20 pages. So that's not a hard thing to get done. It's not difficult.
Okay.
So yeah, that's an off mic conversation for sure. We
Got
can
it. Got it.
we
Got
can
it.
make that happen. But no, like hip hop, I agree with you across the board. Not only, and this is something I think that people need to understand, it connects people
Yeah.
in the other world, not even the United States, but
Yeah.
but you're in the United States, so we can you and I are both here, so we can just make it smaller. But it connects people in a world, in a nation, especially now where everyone's so damn polarized and all this racial tension. Nothing connects people more than music, more any type of music,
Yeah.
and as a person who's a musician, you as well, this, you can sit down with someone who's black, white, and Asian, sit down behind a piano, a drum set, a microphone, whatever, some turntables. It connects people, and I wish we can get back to that, because everyone is zombified, walking behind their leader, and xenophobia, and not in the United States. That's always been my gripe. Like people from maybe North Korea or all these other China or all these other nations that's their ethnicity. You have that legitimate argument, right? Because that's them, but
Yeah.
not the United States. We don't roll like that. But again, that's where we are. Everyone is polarized, they're sticking to their side, and music brings people together. And I kind of was under the impression that's what Joe Biden was trying to do with his election. If you've seen like his inauguration, he had all these different artists like singing together. And that's what music does. That's what hip hop does. That's what jazz does. That's what
Mhm.
every type of music um does. Of course, you're still going to have your bigots,
Right, right, right.
but that's not the majority of people. I was listening to do you remember Tanya Blunt from was she with Brownstone? But she has a new band with her husband. It's called The War and the Treaty, or is it Warring Treaty? I'm sorry. I but anyway, they are in the country music genre.
Really?
Right. She's married now. She was in Sister Act 2 with Lauren Hill. So she's the black woman who's singing with Lauren Hill. If you
Okay.
could think back to Sister Act 2,
I've never seen
oh my
it.
goodness.
Never
Give me
seen
your black card, sir.
Sister Act.
You're like chick
I,
flick.
I
But
didn't know that.
no,
Hold on, I didn't know that was a black movie.
yeah, I don't know either. It's not. It's not. But no,
Okay.
but anyway,
Okay.
they have a band and they're amazing. But they're in the country music genre. And every time I'm listening to them on YouTube, there's some racists in the comments. I just read one who said, this isn't the BET Awards or something. Like just crazy. So, those people will exist, but needless to say, music brings us together, and that's what we like, without a doubt. Anything you want to say to the mentioning the Honorable Louis Farrakhan name, the CIA.
Yeah, they
Oh
don't
my
like it.
goodness,
They
man.
don't like it. They don't like it. Yeah.
Man. So, the internet shut down.
Yeah. It happens.
It happens,
You
especially with
can't.
all that Anti-Defamation League.
Oh God, you can't mention the minister.
Yeah, they shut down the internet on us.
Yeah.
So where would you put Kanye?
Oh God. Uh, that's tough. Here's why that's tough. I know he doesn't write his own rhymes for the most part, and I've always viewed him as more of a producer than a rapper. Um, but I enjoyed his music up until, you know, things went haywire. That's tough. He has to be up there because his contribution is so big. He's very influential. A lot of the kids, the Tyler, the creators, those guys came up on him. Um, he influenced a generation,
He
but
did.
he doesn't write his raps. Like we had to put Puffy up there, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's, you know, no, but that's what I'm saying. It's almost equivalent. Um, I can't put guys that don't write their raps, but it's so tough because his run of albums was so good, like the first four or whatever, so good, and he's added on to it. As much as I hate to say it, I was the biggest Kanye fan in the world until the MAGA hat.
I know most people, especially like Chicago, Illinois as a
Yeah,
whole, we
yeah,
had first dibs on Barack and Michelle. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember
right, right,
seeing
right.
them
Yeah,
like at the coffee shop, but not like I remember like it's crazy that this man
yeah,
is my president, and I remember seeing him like crazy, like South
yeah,
Shore, like all that. And that's how Kanye was. Like I remember
yeah.
just Southside Kanye, and
Right.
then he blew up, and then he changed. I don't know who the hell he is now.
It's very sad. It's very
Yeah.
sad. It's I don't like there's a lot of artists we could talk about their personal lives, and it shouldn't take away from the music, or should it? I don't know. I struggle with that.
And you should, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because they're intertwined. That's why the big, I guess, phrase now is brand,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you're messing up your brand when you kind of scribble outside the lines. And it's hard to do that because sometimes I feel like it's not fair, right? To judge someone by something, their personal life and their music. But it's, I mean, you can go all the way back to, I mean, most male artists, somebody's going to say something in the comments, but most male artists, guys, you can look this up for yourself. I'm not co-signing this, but most have a charge, and it's usually related to a woman that they were
Yeah.
dating or something happened. If you look through most histories, whether it's an R&B guy, the person that poster you had on your wall that you were in love with, rap, whoever, most of them have some type of charge because something has happened. So it's hard to distinguish, you know,
Yeah.
between that.
And that's also another thing. Like Kanye didn't do anything criminal. Um, it's in my opinion, what he said is dangerous.
Yep.
Um, I remember mentioning it to a friend. I'm like, I can't listen to Kanye no more. And she's like, What? Really? You care about this stuff? I'm like, Yeah, I do. I think it's dangerous
Hmm.
to say Harriet Tubman didn't really do anything. To say, uh, you know, Hitler was great or whatever he said.
I saw that
Um,
interview.
yeah, he says weird, dangerous stuff. And um, I don't know. Slavery was a choice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The MAGA hat was one thing, but he's just taking it to dangerous levels. I feel like I don't want to say that, but um, yeah, he's lost me.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find a bigger cheerleader for Kanye. I was so obnoxious with I bought his first, I don't know, 4 or 5 albums. I would buy like 5, 6 copies and give them to people
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
because I wanted to support. I thought he was so important.
Me too.
Being from Chicago,
Yep.
we never had anybody like the Brat blew up, right?
Yep.
But she was more identified with Atlanta. Um,
Right, right, and that's a shame too. I mean, not in
yeah,
a bad way, but you're right.
yeah,
Chicago, if she would have blew up but she probably wouldn't have blown up because think about
probably
when she
not.
came out. Think about that era.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that
she had to go.
yeah.
It's she had to go to blow up.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
we had Twista first, then we had Common. Neither one of those guys blew up
mhm.
until they were with Kanye.
Yep.
Um, so then that was after Kanye's first record. So um, I knew Kanye was special, and I wanted to see him be that guy, and he was that guy, and it was great for a while. He was amazing for a while. You can't argue with the music.
Do you think it so that's an interesting thing because and I'm gonna get some hate. Before I knew about R. Kelly, like I didn't know about all that stuff. Like a lot of people in Chicago knew about that R. Kelly stuff. I was young, so I didn't know all the tapes and all. Like
Yeah,
we heard stories about how I used to post up at the McDonald's across the street
yeah.
from the high school. Like, but I was still young, so I wasn't really in the loop. So I saw him in concert when I was young. But when
Mhm.
all that stuff hit the fan, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do R. Kelly. And I'm almost embarrassed to say I seen him in concert, but I didn't know that
Right.
when I did. Like I did not know that. And then all this stuff started to unfold.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to these interviews from people and like, oh, everybody knew everybody. Like, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think there were people who knew,
Right.
but like lay people, I mean, there's a rumor right now going on, like an allegation about something with Vin Diesel or something. And we don't, it just dropped like yesterday or
Oh,
something. I read it. That's just an allegation. Like we don't
right.
know. And then the whole Jonathan Mayer situation
Yeah.
just happened. This dude is running from his old lady. He turned into JJK, you know? So like
He's,
these
he's
are allegations.
yeah.
But now that it's all hit the fan, I'm like, I can't really deal with R. Kelly anymore. I can't listen to his music. I can't support him. That's a personal decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some people out there who can, but that's just I can't. I cannot. Oh, it gives me the creeps.
You know, again, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I don't want to get into Michael Jackson. I don't. But he's got allegations. I mean, for a long time, they've made documentaries about it. Um, I don't necessarily buy it. I think most of it was a shakedown. But if it was true, I wouldn't be like super surprised. You know what I mean? Like it's a tough thing again, and everybody has their limit. Like again, Kanye didn't do anything criminal.
Right.
He's just doing things that are against my moral standard. He's doing things that I think are dangerous.
Yeah.
Uh it's tough. You kind of have to separate the two.
You're a grown man, so you have the right to say that with Kanye. I actually stopped messing with Kanye around the Harriet Tubman comment.
Yeah,
But the Michael Jackson thing, I just don't believe in. I mean, I don't know. If I had to say, like Macaulay Culkin said that nothing happened, but then some people said it did. I don't know, but I do believe in letting a grown man defend himself when he's
right,
alive.
right,
And
right, right.
I think it's distasteful to destroy someone's character when they're not there to defend themselves.
Completely.
What You can control the narrative when you have the power because they're 6 feet under. I don't believe in smear campaigns.
Yeah,
I really think it's the right thing to do to allow someone to defend themselves. And he's no longer here
right.
to do that. And again, I'm old enough to remember the Michael Jordan trend. Like the man was everything. And I'm not saying that he
Michael
did.
Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, you said Jordan.
Oh, did it? My bad. My bad. My
Jackson,
bad.
Jordan, Tyson.
I
There you
know. I know.
go.
But no, I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. But
Yeah,
because if there's victims out there, then we're shaming them, of course.
right, right,
But
right.
you have to give this Michael Jackson, you have to give him the opportunity to defend themselves. And then, of course, him settling out of court in the 90s. I remember
Right.
those cases. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean he's guilty. He's
No.
just like, get up.
He's like get lost. Yeah.
Yeah, no comment
He's
or whatever. I don't.
he never went to jail.
Hmm.
Like they what did they book him in like
Took
took
images,
pictures.
photos.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But he didn't go to jail.
Hmm.
Jail.
Hmm.
It's a tough. I mean, you stand on what you stand on. I was not a big R. Kelly fan. So that was not a big loss for me. However, I'm one of those people. I did know back
Did
in nine.
you?
Yes.
I did.
Me and him were I'm he's like 10 years older than me, right?
Kale,
So
he's 55, I think.
is he?
Yeah, because he
Okay.
came out of his music teacher. I know her.
Oh yeah.
She's she is the best music teacher. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank, but she taught everyone from I'm talking the
I know
Shalites,
I know what you're talking about. I
Shaka
can't think
Khan.
of her name.
She's been there
Yeah.
since segregation. Literally, not
Yes,
a joke.
yes.
Um,
I can't
but
think of her name
I
right now,
know
but
I'm
yeah.
drawing a blank. I cannot
Yeah.
believe it. She's Dr. Somebody.
Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson. She taught Jennifer Hudson.
Right, right, right,
She
right.
is the creme de la creme, and I'm drawing a
Yeah.
blank, and I should be ashamed of myself because
It's all right.
she'll probably have a school named after her, or a music section or something. She's been that influential. But you knew.
Yeah, because me and him were talking to the same girl, and he's like 10 years older than me. She would tell me, like, yeah, I hooked up with R. Kelly. I'm like, what? Get out of here. She's like, yeah. And I was 16.
Hmm.
I was 16. He had to be 25, 26. So, yeah, I knew back in 90, no, I was 17. So, yeah, 93. So I was 17. Yeah. Um, She had no reason to lie to me. um,
Right.
so I'm like, okay, this dude's sketchy. That's weird.
So that was before the public announcement days.
No, it was
No, that was after. If he was 27, that was after. That's 12 play.
it was the year before 12 play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure was. Yeah. So yeah, it's again like that's a lot. That's a you feel bad for those people.
I
Like,
do. I do.
yeah, yeah, it's sad. It's sad. But back to Kanye, how do you feel about Ice Cube? I'm asking you the question now because Ice Cube has not done the Kanye thing, but he's been very anti-liberal, very he's posing with conservative wackos. It makes me feel a certain way about Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And I love Ice Cube.
Yeah.
I love Ice Cube. But I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Tucker Carlson? Was it him? He had a
Um,
I think he took Tucker Carlson to Compton. I think I either seen the interview or read about the interview, but it makes me feel uncomfortable.
yeah,
It's- the math ain't mathing.
it's not.
No, so this is how I feel about this. So Cube has always been political.
Yeah.
You know that he's always said some stuff. I'm not gonna say it. They're gonna call me anti, whatever.
Right, right,
So I'm
right.
not, you go listen to it for yourself. All right.
Right, right, right.
So I think what he's doing is he's tired of the democratic machine. That's
Right.
kind of what I'm getting. So he feels like he's trying to, from what he said, this is what I'm gathering. I feel like he's trying to weigh all options. Who's going to do the best for the what type of people? I think that's what he's seeking, because he's saying, and it's a common argument, it's just not Cube. Ice Cube is saying, the Democrats have had the majority of a block
50
from,
years.
okay, and nothing has changed
60 years. Yeah.
probably since that
Yeah.
1964 Civil Rights
Yeah.
Act.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically what he's saying. He's saying, what's the outcome? What can we do differently? That's what I'm gathering.
That's what he said. And I believe he believes that. But taking meetings with these types of people, in my opinion, is dangerous. Like you're talking to white supremacists. Like, we could say all different political ideologies, whatever.
Yes.
These people are white supremacists. That's a very different thing from a political uh, viewpoint. But I believe Ice Cube the type of person to go, hey, I don't care what you think, just do right by black folks. So
Interesting.
I think he probably feels that way. Like we can't change how people think, but what are you going to do for black folks? Surprise. They ain't going to do shit for black folks. What makes him think they're going to be any better for black people?
Do you think
That's,
he's being used?
I don't know. Not necessarily. Well, I think that's tough. I don't think so, but they will. If he hasn't already been used, they will try to use him, especially in this coming year.
Oof.
Um, I just think he's a guy who was sitting around in COVID and stewing about stuff and going, black people still got it bad. But I don't put any like I don't give politicians that much weight. Like
Mhm.
that's, yeah, a lot of this is policy, but a lot of it's personal.
Mhm.
So you can't wait for politicians to do stuff for you. I'm going to vote for the person who best suits my ideals. That's what
Mhm.
most people do.
Mhm.
I was not a fan of Hillary Clinton. but she got my vote because of what she was against. I did my part.
Right.
People in Wisconsin, Minnesota, wherever, they did not. Okay. Well,
She
whatever.
she lost white women.
Yeah.
She lost white women.
Yeah.
Go look at the numbers.
That's a huge thing. I think sexism goes both ways. You know, when they could pick a supposed alleged rapist over a
Yeah.
woman. Come on,
Alleged.
give
Yeah.
me a break. The dude's a clown. He is a talk show host who owns some buildings. Like, and they
Lease. Chicago. No, he doesn't own his
he
name.
leased.
Yes, the one in Chicago. Yeah, that name is yeah.
So okay, he puts his name on buildings, and they thought he was equipped to be president. It's sickening. It's crazy. But that's me.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, did I love Joe Biden? Not really. But what was my alternative?
And you have the right to feel that way. Like, and that is what people need to understand. This is the United States. You know, you have the right to feel that way. Like, what are the choices? What choices
Right.
do people have? It's either this or that. And then you have the people. In fact, you mentioned Hillary. I had a couple people. This was back on my 2008 when
Hmm.
President Barack Obama won. So many of my friends wanted Hillary.
Yeah.
They were just like, I'm not going to vote at all.
Right.
And I'm like, that happened a lot. And people forget the further away from an event, people forget how impactful that win for Barack Obama was. Like, people were very upset that Hillary did not get the nomination.
Yeah.
Right. And so many people, especially in my circle, in my quasi circle, were just like disappointed. Like, I'm not going to vote then. Like, that's fine. Do what you want to do. But and I am shocked she did not beat Trump. That is something that I'm still grappling with to this day. And I've even, like, when I find something interesting, it's hard for me to pry it. And I sat down when that information was available and just looked at the numbers and looked at the speeches, and she just did not translate well with white women.
Hmm.
And again, this is information that everyone has access to now, so
Hmm.
you don't have to take my voice
Right.
for it. Like,
Right.
so I don't know what it was, and that's for her. I mean, she can figure it out. I read her book. It's a great book, by the way. Her memoir. It's called What Happened. It's a
Okay.
memoir. It's called What Happened. But she just, for whatever reason, and they have that right, but Trump was more attractive to them. I
He
don't know.
spoke their language. He spoke to white supremacists. His whole campaign was building a wall, banning Muslims. Like, it was make America great, which is coded language, great again, meaning what? Pre-Negro, right? Is that what that means? I don't know. Pre-black people having too much power. That's what that means. Like, he spoke to his base and they stepped up. I didn't believe it. I was in London and I never left America in my life. The only trip I've never left America.
Hmm.
I was 40 years old. I said, when I turn 40, I'm going somewhere. I went to England.
That's what's up.
And yeah, it was great. I did not want to leave. It was
Yeah, it
fabulous.
is beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. But everybody was like, what's up with Trump? Where are you? Is that for real? I'm like, no, there's no way. It's a joke. I told everyone there he's not going to win. And I'm like, how could you even ask me this question seriously? Like, no, there's no way he's going to win. A few weeks later, he won. I did not
Mhm.
believe it. They were afraid. The people over there were afraid. Uh, and I had to calm them down. Like, no, he's not.
Yep.
Don't worry. They knew how dangerous it was, but we didn't. A lot of people, I've had people tell me I don't want to put him on blast, but there's a rapper. Well, you go to check my interviews. I
Okay.
interviewed Daddy-O from Stetson Sonic,
Ah,
and he had a song about or a lyric about, Trump won, get over it, get over it, something like that, something to the effect of that. And I asked him about it, and he's like, "Well, I'm from New York. He's from New York, something like that." And I'm like, "Bro, but he's a moron." Like, he's like, "Hillary's evil."
okay.
I'm like, okay, but this guy is an idiot. Well, I'm from New York. He's from New York. It was something like that. And I'm
Sure.
like, come on, bro. Like, you got to be better than that. But, I think Daddy O's in his 60s. He's a conservative. I think he's very much in a church and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Trump kind of spoke to that base too. Like, they're religious, even though the guy's never been in a church. Like, he's, he's a phony. But
He got a nice chunk of black votes, black
yes,
male votes, black male votes.
a
Mm-hmm.
lot, a lot. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I still don't know. Maybe it was. I actually I don't know. I mean, as a man, why do you think? Because I hate speaking for people.
Right.
Um, and I mean,
Maybe they were all from New York.
maybe maybe they were. But this is what's crazy. Like being old enough to know Trump. Like I remember Trump.
Hmm.
Like, and that is what so this new generation, Sharon, they don't know Trump. They just know maybe The Apprentice or what they see.
Right.
Like I remember when I remember when he had the black girlfriend. Do you remember when this was back in the
No,
90s? Yeah,
no.
like I remember the 90s. I remember the whole boxing back when he used to
Yeah.
like promote
Trump
like
Plaza. Yeah.
yeah, like all this stuff is not that long ago, but it's
Right.
almost like he's reinvented itself and maybe it was that issue and I'm not saying reinvent in a good way or a bad
Right.
way.
Right.
I'm
Right.
just saying like
Different.
I remember this dude, you know? It's
Listen,
crazy.
listen. To answer your question, I think black men voted for him because he's a man and he was up against a woman. I also think a lot of people felt safe because he talked a lot of shit.
Mhm.
Big, you want to like a tough guy in charge, right? And he was a fake tough guy. It's the same. I got family who like George W. Bush because he's like, we're gonna smoke him out.
That's
We're gonna do,
hilarious.
yeah, like people like that. They don't want a passive liberal that's gonna listen and all this other stuff. They want somebody who says they're going to kill people in defense of our country. I think that's a big part of it, but I think the vast majority of it is sexism. Um, yeah. So I'm sorry, what were you just talking about?
No, I mean,
No,
Trump gained a large amount of black male votes.
no, before that.
Hillary, I say she didn't translate well with white
Oh
women.
God, I'm sorry. I've totally lost it. Let's
Yeah.
just move on. I
But
forgot.
no, I find it interesting that well, we don't know what's going to happen with anyone, but I do believe
Right.
that everyone has the right to vote. I'm a voter. People have the right to vote how they want to vote, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But maybe this two-party system is something that needs to change. That's a
Uh,
big
Yeah, it's definitely trash. It's
comment.
definitely bad. It's definitely bad. And it creates a gang mentality, us versus them.
I hate it.
I'm not a fan of it either. Like when I first voted, my first presidential election, I think was 96.
Okay.
It had to be 96. I voted for Ross Perot. And I didn't like Bill Clinton. I didn't like Bob Dole. I read the newspapers. I listened to the debates. I'm like, okay, I like this guy better. I'm 20 years old, right? Like, I'm like, this guy makes more sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, it's a different world now. Um, if you're gonna like the people the Republican Party have produced, with the exception of McCain, not his running mate, uh, they've all been crackpots to me. Uh,
McCain had great ideas, you know,
yeah,
great
yeah.
great integrity. You know,
Integrity.
that's something that I find attractive, integrity. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet to kind of get things done and save face and all those things. Yeah, he had integrity.
Yeah. And he was a stand-up person.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to get women and picked the wrong running mate, and it doomed him. He would have won.
Saturday
There's
Night
no
Live.
Saturday Night Live. Oh yeah.
Saturday Night Live destroyed Sarah Palin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tina Fey, like
Yeah. It didn't help. It didn't help. But she was stupid. I mean, that's just what it was. They picked a woman thinking it would help, and it was the wrong move. She was not Hillary. She was a governor, okay. But she was not, you know,
Hillary.
yeah, so
Hillary.
much. Anyway,
No,
yeah,
Hillary was qualified. And
yes,
that is, and people who don't know politics or anything about Hillary Clinton, this was a very common comment that you heard when she was running. Oh, if Hillary was in office, Bill would be running the country. And every time I would hear that comment, I would laugh because I would say that people would tell on themselves. Because when
yeah,
you Hillary was actually in the White House before Bill, and most people don't know that she was doing research on the Watergate scandal. Like,
yeah,
and Bill was nowhere near the White House. You know, so yeah, people just didn't know Hillary well enough. They didn't know her history, and maybe that's something her team could have done a better job at. I don't know. I guess
yeah,
I'm Monday morning quarterback, and it's over now. But
yeah,
she was qualified. I mean, the
yeah.
woman knew for every, you know. And then of course there were some emails, some stuff with emails that Donald Trump kind of brought up. I don't know, but
But nothing ever came of.
right, right. So
Nothing ever came of, and it's the irony is he did that whole campaign about her emails, and he's taking classified documents home to his golf course or whatever. It's so funny. It's just like it's the most he's showing Kid Rock
yeah,
classified documents for what?
yeah.
And they just like brush it off like it's nothing. Like this dude is dangerous and he has a following. I don't know.
He
It's,
had to follow
yeah, we were talking about Ice Cube.
him.
How
What
do
he
we, yeah.
because Trump and Cube kind of, I think they had some kind of connection. But he has a following. And I'm all about like, look, do what you want to do. I just prefer that people know the facts. That's
Yeah,
usually what I really don't like when people just make up their own facts. Like that's not true. Like these
right,
things
right.
aren't true. Right? It's like the book, I think it's called Fahrenheit 451, where they burn all the books and then they start like making up their own facts. Like Benjamin Franklin started the first, you know. Like what? No, that did not happen. So yeah,
So
that's
easy.
what
It's
I
easy to
don't
do.
like. Hmm.
That's easy to do in this internet era.
It is.
Did you happen to see the Joe Rogan clip that's going viral?
I didn't.
Okay. He's on his show talking to some guy, I presume a fighter, and he's talking about how everyone, even the liberals, hate Joe Biden now. And Joe Biden said something about we lost the Revolutionary War because we didn't have enough airplanes or something. He said this, and then somebody on his staff showed him a clip, and it was actually Trump who said it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, whatever. He made a mistake." You know, when he thought Joe Biden said it,
Yeah.
it's like this guy is
Yeah.
incompetent, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. When he found out Trump said it, he's like, "Oh, he made a mistake."
Yeah.
It's very like it's very tribalistic. Like I don't get it. I
Yeah.
don't get it at all. Um, but whatever. Ice Cube.
That is
You can,
tribalistic. It is, and it's unfair. And I think
yeah,
you have the
yeah,
right to
yeah.
say that. That's hypocrisy because we see that across the board in a lot of professions, by the way. If one person does it, it's the end of the world. But if another person does it and you have something that you share in common with that person, whatever it is, oh, it's no big deal. They were this, they were that. That's
Mhm.
unfortunate.
It's sad.
And that's
It's
not okay.
nah, it's not okay.
Yeah. Have
But
some dignity. Have some integrity. Like,
yeah, like, come on, like, I'll stand up and say I voted for Rod Blagojevich.
oh
You know what I
gosh.
mean? I
Don't
did.
get started on the Chicago governors.
But I'm saying, like, yeah,
Ugh,
I met the dude campaigning. I was getting on the train going to work. He
okay.
seemed like a nice guy. I watched the debate. I'm like, okay, I'm voting for this guy. He's a crook.
Yeah.
Call it what it is. Like, I voted for a crook. I mean, how was I to know?
He tried to sell you didn't know. He tried to
Yeah.
sell the seat. Obama's seat.
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. It's
Jesse's seat.
just
Oh, this
dirty.
he didn't
Just
know.
rotten, but I will call a Democrat out if they're foul. It's what it is.
That's fair.
You have to.
Yep.
Wrong is wrong.
Yes,
You
it's
know?
fair.
Yeah.
Yep. Rod, how long was he in prison?
Oh God, I don't know. I know Trump got him out, so hold
He
on.
did. He did.
He didn't?
No, he did. He did.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Trump got him out. So was that 16? I don't remember when he went in. He sold the seat in 08 or 9. I don't really know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
No, longer than that. I have no idea. The
Yeah.
guy came out, he was completely gray. It was it was he had a rough time in
Yeah.
jail.
I cannot believe I still can't believe that happened. I was
Right.
looking through some of my documents coming up through school, and his name is on several of them because he was a governor at the time.
Yeah.
So, when you go through like, whatever academics or whatever, the governor signs it, hoity toity. And I'm like, oh crap, this dude's in jail now. Like, it's crazy.
Justified.
Yeah.
Justified. He's
Yeah.
yeah.
So you think Cube is just trying to play the field, or do you think this is a case of divide and conquer? If you split the block, I don't know.
I think like you said, Cube. Listen, we could all look at it for what it is. You could say black people aren't doing great in a lot of places in America. Black people have predominantly been Democratic for 60 something years. Maybe it's time to switch. I can see the logical reasoning behind that. But when you're switching to people who despise you, even, I mean, you can't switch to like the Klan. You know what I mean? Like, these people justified an attack on the Capitol. These people, like, you cannot switch to something that rotten. Uh, but I get wanting change. I get that. I think it was during COVID, we were shut down, quarantine, and Q was just talking. And I do think he feels like there needs to be a change. A lot of people, Kanye said the same stuff. A lot of people feel that way.
Hmm.
But change to what? That's my question. I'm
Right.
with you. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we going to do? Trump? Nah, that's not the change I want. No.
So my question is this: a large portion of poor white people in places everywhere, not just
Yeah.
Appalachia, but the South, North, South, East, West.
Yeah.
We have a dominant poor white class in the
Mhm.
United States also. All right. Dirt poor, drugs, right? We know
Yeah.
this. Meth is huge.
Right.
Pills, you know, all this plagues mostly white Americans. Poor. Why do they vote Republican? Trump won Appalachia.
Yeah.
They are the poorest of the poor. Places like East Tennessee, Mississippi, poor, poor, poor.
Here's why.
All but below the poverty line.
Yeah. Republicans play those games. they make you believe, well, the Democrats, they just want give people free shit. They just want they just want to give poor people money and take it away from you and blah blah blah. They paint I forget who it was, but the face of welfare in the minds of many is black woman, right? Not the truth.
It's not the truth.
It's white people, but
It is.
that's the face they paint. It's just far more white people over more,
Right.
we're not in Wyoming. We're
Right.
we're
Right.
not in the Dakotas. We're not there. Uh
More white people are on welfare than any
yes.
other ethnic group. And there's nothing wrong. If you need the help, get
Yeah,
the help. But it's
right.
not okay to demonize it and say that it's someone else. That's what the problem is.
That's a problem, but more so to use that politically and say, hey, they're taking from you or they're taking your tax money. And it's just not the case.
It-
You could go online and see the vast majority of your tax dollars goes to the military. I had a friend at work and I asked her, I said, why are you Republican? And she's like, because I don't want people who don't work taking my money. I said, you know, all your money goes to the military, right? And she's like, well, I'm okay with that. She's like, don't you want to feel safe? I'm like, I feel safe. But I know for a fact that the United States military has bases all over the world waiting for something to happen. There's a person I know, I think they're stationed in Germany now, maybe someplace else.
it's probably Germany. That is the
Probably
place to
Germany.
be. Everyone wants to go to Germany. And I know why.
The dude
It's the
is,
place to be.
but the guy is like sweeping up the base. That's what he's doing, right? That's where your tax dollars go. I'm not saying we don't need the military. We definitely
Oh
need the
yeah.
military.
And I hope no one takes what you said out of context. Because
Yeah,
it happens all the time. Of course we need the military.
we
Yes.
definitely need the military. I don't know
Yes.
if we need as strong a presence as we have. I don't think we need to have bases everywhere, but they want to be over there in case something jumps off, right?
Mhm.
They want to
Yeah,
be ready. So, um, since Obama administration, now it's healthcare, right?
it is.
So, um, that's where a lot of the money goes. It's not what welfare is something like small percentage,
It is.
but that's what they paint to people.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
and it builds up this thing. Oh, you just want free stuff. They just want free stuff, or they just want to get free. Nah, that's not
Mhm.
what it is. And I think when you speak that way to people who are, I don't want to paint just people as racists, but people who aren't exposed to other ethnicities,
Mhm.
um, they have no experience being around other types of people. Yeah, they're like, well, I'm going with this guy. This guy's keeping Mexicans out. Yeah. This guy's keeping Muslims out. Yeah, that's the guy I want. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think it just, it just, they speak to their base. They speak to their
Mhm.
base and they put fear in them. They're afraid. Why? I don't know. They're afraid they're being replaced. They're afraid they're being replaced, and they're not. Nobody's replacing the white man in America,
Look,
but that's the fear.
no one's replacing anyone. Like,
No,
this is the United States. People have the right to whatever you want to do, do it. And that is what people forget. Like, do it. No one's replacing you. No one is like the resentment is real.
okay.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and they do. For whoever, like, I don't have the answers to the immigration problem. Clearly
Right.
everyone
No.
has. If you're in Chicago or New York,
Right.
but I don't have all the answers, nor should I. That's not my job,
Right.
right? It's the people who get paid loads of money to figure it out. That's their
Right. Right.
job. But what we do have to be honest with as Americans, none of this is our land. So you have to figure it out. Like, I'm not like, we have to figure it out. And that's not my job. And that is one thing I will say. I don't feel like I need to have an opinion about everything, because that whole immigration thing, you can't build a wall. I know someone who owns land in between San Diego and Mexico,
Mhm.
and they're like, no one's built, like, heck no, no one's building a wall through this. That's not happening. It's been in their line for generations. And they're like, no, that's not happening. So you can't, I don't know what the United States is going to do, but we have to figure it out.
And again, yeah, like it's two sides to everything. I don't
Yeah.
want to act like immigration, people should just jump the border. Doesn't work that way. Um, there's procedures. Uh, However, I also am not gonna down that hill. That's not some. I have a friend who is conservative and um very much, you know, a build the wall kind of person, right? And
They have that right.
yeah, I said, why do you feel that way? Like, wow, well, what are they taking from you? And she said, well, my family is poor and they predominantly work in non-skilled labor jobs. They work in the restaurant industry and they lost their jobs because Mexicans will come in and do it for less money. I said, so your problem is with the owner, not the
Good
the
point.
owner's screwing you.
Yeah.
The owner's trying to make more money. Your problem is with the owner, not the people trying to work.
Right.
But they don't see it that way. She
Right.
does not see it that way. She sees it as these people are coming in and working for nothing, and it's hurting us.
Right.
Uh, I disagree.
Right. I don't think people, I was going to say something else, but I'm trying to censor myself, but I'm not. I
Go
don't
ahead.
think
Go ahead.
people
Go
are
ahead.
smart enough to
What
to
do, what do
think
you
that
mean?
deep. I don't think people are smart enough to think that deep. Like, I think a lot of people are surfaced,
Yes.
and a lot of people are ignorant, but I think they choose to be ignorant, because even talking to, like you said, exposure to other people, access to the internet gives you the opportunity to fact check anything. But if you're in an echo chamber and you want to believe it, you're going to believe it, right?
Right.
So people are ignorant by choice. When they encounter someone who can provide them actual facts and not an opinion, they're turned off, okay? Or you're being biased or whatever. And that's not the case. I encounter it all the time. Like, because I talk to people who I don't necessarily agree with on everything. And every time we're having a conversation, it's always personal. Like, and I
Yeah.
hate to always get personal,
Right.
right? And every time I'm talking to someone who may disagree with politics or policy, it always gets personal when they cannot understand the facts.
Right.
Okay? It should never get personal. It should always be these facts. Like you mentioned, all, your issues with the owner. All right? So then you can take it even deeper. So the issue is capitalism,
Yeah.
right? People aren't that smart. I said it. It's true. And I think we need to start calling people dumb. And and I know I'm gonna get some comments. Oh, you think you no,
Mm.
it has nothing to do with that, because some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life don't have any type of degree ever.
Yeah.
Some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life are 0 degreed. So it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with that. It's just common sense.
Mm.
It's just common sense. Having someone break down the fact that, how can you believe that the majority of people are black and single mothers and on welfare? Like, how can you logically believe that lie? Like, how? If you just sit down and look at a map, a globe, and say, look at the United States, look at the states, Look at the population of women, black men, white men. And how do you believe that? That's why I have to just I'm at the point to where I have to just walk away from people or just shake my head at them because they're not there yet. And they're
Yeah.
never going to be there because they don't want to. And they have that right. And that is something I stand firm in. Like people don't if you want to be ignorant and stupid, you can. But if you want to be smart, and smart doesn't mean believe in what I believe. That's not
Right.
my standard of smart. I'm just saying know the facts. That's my only gripe. It's just know the facts. Like we're like so many times like I was talking to a woman yesterday and she said something was in the Bible. And I said, that is not in the Bible. Like, who told you that? And I know someone told her that because
Right.
she's not the reading type. I can tell within 10 minutes she probably See Spot Run was the last book she read. And she was probably about 35.
Uh,
So who told you that? You
wow.
know, and that information is passed down, passed down, passed down, passed down without no one fact checking it.
Yeah.
You know, and then finally when they speak to someone with facts, it's you are the enemy. It becomes personal. Then they don't like, and it should never be that. You should be educating yourself, especially in this time period. I can almost give someone the benefit back in the day when maybe they didn't have the exposure, but still you have a library card, you pay taxes, it's free. If you really want to know, that's all I'm saying. Now, if you don't want to know, continue to not know. You have that right. But you can't get mad when someone has facts, just facts. Look at the numbers, look at the facts, and that's it.
I completely agree with you. But I think you have to understand where these people like they group together. They are seeking something, but from all the wrong places. And they get together and their little websites or whatever and spread nonsense.
Yeah,
Remember how big that story was about the Hillary Clinton and the pizza place in
I
DC?
do.
Like that became like fact to
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Didn't somebody go over there and shoot somebody?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
it was so serious that somebody went there to kill whatever pedophile
yeah,
was allegedly there.
yeah,
Come on, man. These people they believe nonsense.
yeah.
Investigate just a little bit more.
That's it. And I don't think, but it's, you have to want to. You have
Yeah.
to want to. And if you like someone and you hear something good about them, you want to hear that. If you hear something bad about them, oh, that's just a lie.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't like someone and you hear something bad about them, you accept it, right? So that's just how it is. It's tribalism.
Yeah.
If you don't like me and you hear something bad about me, you're going to believe it because you don't like me anyway. So you're just looking for fuel. You
Right.
know, I told you so. You know, so
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
is, and that's how people are.
Right.
And I'm not like that because I try to carry myself with some type of integrity. You know, whether I like you or not, I try to be fair.
Mhm.
And most people just they're not going to do that because they're not there yet.
Yeah.
They're just not there yet and they don't want to be. And that's the beautiful part about the United States. Having access to people in all these different countries, international people. It's like they know our history. Like, yeah, all these people. I have my acquaintances, my friends from China and Africa. They know our history more
And
than
we
we
don't.
do.
We don't know our
Right,
history.
right. Like it's almost embarrassing, and I say
Yeah.
almost because most smart people who I hang around with know. But I encounter so many people who come through our American system who don't know our history, but I come across an international person. They know everything we've done, the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, I
It's
sat
crazy.
and talked to an Asian from China for 20 minutes about Emmett Till.
Wow.
She knew all about it. They taught it in their schools. But I come across so many youngsters who've never heard of it. And that's by design. They don't
Mm.
want you to know about this child who was murdered.
Well, there's a whitewashing of a lot of stuff. Like it's like their agenda to get rid of books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, it's dangerous to tell the truth about what America is and was to them. To me, it's
Yeah.
just what it is to me. Um, tell the truth. This is what happened.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I was taking a history class, and one of the other students, um, I made a mention of I think it was something like 14 or 16, some number of presidents owned slaves. I forget the exact number. And the guy was like, you can't really be mad at them for owning slaves because that was just the way it was back then. I said, no, that's not the way it was. There's always been anti-slavery movements.
Right. Right. Right.
Always. It was wrong. He's like, well, that's like blaming you for driving a car today and knowing you're messing up the environment and being blamed for it like 50 years from now or something. Like, not quite.
No. No. No.
Not quite, but the guy really said that. Like,
Yeah.
I think there are people who believe
Yeah.
it was it was a different time, or it was. I've had white people tell me slavery wasn't that bad. Tell me that. I'm like, well, you need to read a little.
Yeah. Just read. Just read. And
And it's
then,
you can't blame the people though. Like, where are they gonna learn this?
yeah.
If you don't seek this out yourself, you're not gonna know.
Yeah, and then you have to talk about the terror that happened after slavery,
Yes.
which is completely almost eradicated from schools. You know, it's oh, slavery ended, and then Martin Luther King.
And
And by the
yeah,
way, I love
100 years.
MLK. Like, by the way, I am an MLK fan, especially
Yes.
after reading Tavis Smiley's book on MLK. He really made well, first it was Where Do We Go From Here by Martin Luther King. He wrote it, it was I think it was right before he passed, it was published. So
Okay.
68. It's about he talks a lot about Chicago, and we already know about that whole Richard Daley stuff.
Yeah.
No, but that book made me a super MLK fan. And then Tavis Smiley, his book, it's a small book. I want to say under 200 pages. And he talks about the last 3 years of King's life and how he was just public enemy number one. And it's awesome. Like it should be required reading because it
Mm.
gets through all the fluff. You know, people forget that when King was assassinated, he wasn't at the top of everyone's flower list. And Tavis Smiley, although I'm not in Tavis Smiley's parade. I'm not a
Right,
huge fan
right,
of
right,
his,
right, right.
but that book is spot on. Like, and people forget that. But what was I saying?
You're talking about Dr. King.
I
Oh,
brought out Dr. King's for a reason. But I was saying, like, we go from 100 years.
yes, Reconstruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get to rambling. But we
No,
go,
it's all
yeah,
good. It's all good.
people forget like that 100 years, that span of 100 years
Yeah.
that developed Dr. King. Like, why did we need a Dr. King? And it's like you said, it disappears from history books, the lynchings of Black men, women, and babies.
Hmm.
I just recently read a story about a Black woman, and I actually posted this. She was pregnant, she was strung up, and the baby was cut from her belly. And the lynchers, cut the umbilical cord while the baby was hanging, and they stumped on the baby and murdered the baby
Hmm.
out of the woman's womb. Like, these are the stories that people are jarred to hear, but this happened. This happened.
And that's the norm. That
Mhm.
happened a lot.
Yep.
But I think the narrative of the happy slave is what they want to present. Oh,
Mm.
you got to sing and pick cotton. You weren't raped and tortured. You were, it's I think it makes people uncomfortable and forces people to have to think about a lot of things and maybe make some changes. I don't know, but um that's the reality.
It was.
Did it, what's your opinion on The Birth of a Nation? Not the original one. The
The
what
remake.
not it wasn't a remake, but the Nat Turner story.
Okay. Oh yeah, good. Okay, yeah. Not a remake. You're right. Because the
Yeah.
original, please don't hold me to that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was not a remake.
Not a
Wow,
remake.
definitely
Not
not.
no.
Because yeah, that first one, I used to own that. It's a silent film.
Yeah, yeah, I own it.
What happened to it? I don't know what happened.
Hopefully in the trash.
Yeah, I did have it, but I actually enjoyed it. A lot
Really?
of people, I did, and I'll tell you
Hold
why.
on. We're talking about the updated
The updated, the Nat
Nat
Turner one.
Turner. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, the Nat
Okay,
Turner
okay,
one.
okay.
So I enjoyed the Nat Turner version, not a
Yeah.
remake. Let me just reiterate that. I
I
enjoyed the Nat Turner version
loved it.
because it brought his story to the forefront. A lot
Yep.
of people didn't know about Nat Turner, and that's okay if you didn't. That's what Hollywood is for.
Right.
That's okay. Um, that's why I don't have gripes about this new movie Flowers in the Summer Moon that came out about the Native Americans,
Oh yeah.
Scorsese's film.
Yeah.
Hollywood, if they want to do it, do it. But no, Nat Turner, I loved it because it number one, it talked about this movement where people were not okay with being in bondage, right? And Nat Turner wasn't the only one. And it also talked about sexual violence, the rape and the murder. And people, for whatever reason, never equate that with slavery. Like Black women were raped under
Mhm.
sexual predators all the time, right? All these biracial children running around, this stuff is documented in the census. I've
Mhm.
looked at it for myself. The woman is Black and the child is mulatto. That's the term that's used in the census. It
Yep.
happens so frequently in so many places. There is a plantation in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the King Plantation. It was either Georgia or Florida, where they said the mulatto children were so frequent that they had their own section of the plantation.
Mm.
What is going on? So, like, all this stuff is just pushed aside. No one talks about it. It's in our DNA, and in fact, I've said this several times when I talk about slavery. A lot of people say that was one of the reasons for the Civil War, that no longer did men, if slavery was over, men would no longer have access to these women's bodies.
Mm.
Yes, there's a lot of literature on that. And that was part of
Wow.
the equation. Like, if we let these slaves go, that means the Black women too. And you no longer have access to do what you want to do. You no longer have access to these bodies who you are abusing on a regular basis.
Mm.
Sex trafficking
Wow.
in a Christian nation.
Alleged.
It's, you
Alleged.
know, what is your take on
Yeah.
the Nat Turner version? Nat
I
Turner version.
I absolutely loved it. Didn't sugarcoat anything. I'll be honest with you. I don't know the actor, the director, his story. Something happened at the time when the movie was coming out, which drove people away from the movie. But I thought it was so important. We don't get stories about heroes like Nat Turner in Hollywood movies. We just don't. So I thought it was important. Like I went to the theater to see. I'm like, this movie's getting my money.
Yeah.
I bought the Blu-ray or whatever. It's I loved it. It's hard to watch, but it shows you the real deal.
Hmm.
It shows you what it was. Have you ever read Bullwhip Days?
I haven't.
Okay, I recommend that book. I think it's called Bullwhip Days.
What is it about?
Oh my God, some guy, maybe early 1900s, like interviewed former slaves
Ah, wow.
and like various slaves. He talked about he asked them about their experiences. And it's like it's the way it's written, it's a lot of it's like broken English kind of, so it's kind of hard to read a little bit, but
Sure.
you get the real story
Wow.
from the mouths of people who lived through it.
Wow.
Definitely check out that. I think it's called Bullet. It's been a long time since I've read it, but
Sure.
yeah, and I do think people need to know the real story. I do think it's convenient to say, "Oh, they were happy. They just work for free," or we saved them from the jungles. You know, lies, nonsense. Like, oh, we civilized them. That makes them feel better to say, They were savages. We civilized them. We gave them
Mhm.
Jesus or whatever. It's all nonsense.
The oldest Bible we now know is in Ethiopia.
Yes.
That's Africa, people.
Hmm.
The oldest living Bible is in Ethiopia,
Hmm.
right? Anyone who reads the Bible, Paul went to Rome. So that means he wasn't in Europe. Understand that, people. So I'm just, it's amazed that people talk about how can civilization, we all come from Africa. And
Hmm.
this is the same logic that I told you. Some people just are dumb. And I don't care. I'm going to get some pushback because I already know how people, oh, you think you know. I don't care what you say. How can civilization start on the continent of Africa? We all come from Africa, right? Everyone
Everybody.
comes from us, all right?
Hmm.
And then you migrate and you look like what your ancestors migrated to.
Right.
So how can civilization, us humans, begin on Africa and civilization not begin on Africa? So everyone can agree that everyone is from Africa, regardless of your phenotype. So why can't everyone agree that civilization started there also?
Because
It did.
it's the belief that Western civilization is superior. The most recent wave of, you know, European creation or whatever, but no, you're right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we all come from Africa, and then civilization comes from Africa. Like,
Right.
there's nothing that's not taking away from anyone. That we're here in America now. So that's not saying anything. Like, what is wrong with divvying up the talent? It's like, why does one person have to hoard? We did everything, we started everything. You can believe what you want. I'm pro believe what you want, but just know that it's not true. Just know that it's not true. Robin Walker has an excellent book. It's called When We Ruled. It's in the $30 range. And for people who are used to buying books these days, that's probably up there for
Yeah.
most book buyers are like usually in the $15 range. But just put the logic together. That's all I wish people would do. And people just don't want to know the facts. And again, they have the right to not want to hear it. If you don't want to hear it, don't believe it. Believe what you want. But just know that your other people believe different, other people believe. And there's a lot of material on it. Anthony Browder writes about civilization in Africa and in Egypt. So I just encourage people to do the research.
How much of this do you believe is lack of education? Like, because a symbol like a science class, you will learn where civilization started. Um, how much of this is people not being educated?
You know what?
Excuse
I think it's by design.
me.
I think it's by design
Yeah.
because I had, you know, I had I came from a family who knew it was important to do your own research and read. But if you only rely on the school system and
Mm.
those P12 books, especially now, things are being chopped down. I think it's by design. I think it's intentional. I do. What do you think?
I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's exposure. It's definitely by design. There is a movement. There has always been a movement to kind of push anything positive in black under the rug. It's like you said, it's like, oh, you were a slave, and Martin Luther King came. It's like that's your history. No, that's not my history. That's
Mhm,
that's that's a small part.
mhm.
Um, there is I think it benefits certain people to have everyone think slavery was justified or it was not that bad or it was okay. And that's just not how it works. Somebody told me the reason, like Germany, uh, I've never been to Germany, but I've heard like they don't tolerate Hitler stuff.
They don't.
They don't tolerate Nazis and all that stuff. And they owned up to their wrongdoing. When you own up
Yep.
and apologize and try to do better, things will be better. I think one problem with the United States, and I love America, but it has never tried to own up to what it's done to not just Africans, native people, you know, more so native than us, but
Natives.
no, I mean, I think it'd be a whole lot better if somebody, anybody, the country, and not just like give us a Juneteenth, but just like you know, this is your reparations for uh, a Holocaust, man. People, this is hundreds of years. I think people like really lose sight that it was hundreds of years. The slave trade and slavery and Reconstruction, the birth of the Klan, all this stuff to the point where we needed a civil rights movement.
The rich, all these vigilante groups. And I will also add, you made an excellent point. What people also forget is that slavery was a business. Everyone from
Yeah.
your bankers to your shipbuilders to insurance, like it was a gigantic business,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what people forget. They're just like, oh, and not only slaves were used in all economies, by the way, and
Yep.
it was an enterprise. People just don't see it at that level, and
People got rich, cotton, tobacco, sugar cane, right?
oof, yes.
So many products with almost no overhead, like free
Yeah,
labor.
free labor.
People getting rich, sending that stuff all over. Um, yeah. And you know, they promised 40 acres and a mule, right? Right?
Sherman.
Is that what they said? 40
Yeah,
acres and a
yeah,
mule?
yeah, General Sherman. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I heard, Sharon, as
Mhm.
recently as this is December. So as recently as, yeah, 3 weeks ago. True story.
Hmm.
Everyone had slaves. From a grown person, an adult.
Who knew?
So and again, that is something that I'm at the level. If you would have caught me probably 10 years ago, it would have been a heated conversation with this person. But I'm
Right.
at the age, and I know it with myself, that you just have to walk away because you don't know and you don't get it. And I'm sad for you.
Yeah.
Back to what you said a moment ago. I'm sad for you because
Yeah.
slavery in Greece, or the Arabs, or prisoners
Yeah.
of war slavery is not chattel slavery that
Right.
Black Americans experience. It's not your womb is enslaved when you drop that baby in 9 months. It's not. Black people experience hereditary chattel slavery.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think some people just don't know, because I heard that just as recently as 3 weeks ago. I kid you not. She said everyone has slaves, like everyone. So they don't know. They just don't know. A person who was kidnapped as a prisoner of war in Greece is not chattel slavery. That doesn't mean that their children were enslaved. It wasn't racial slavery. You were a prisoner of war,
Hmm.
right? You had a limit on, you were indentured, right?
Right.
Your children are not property. You are not property. People just don't know.
And in some of those cases was not as brutal.
Right. You're not sold
It's
on an auction
yeah.
block like Black people were.
Hmm. Or like you said, uh castrated,
Oof.
raped, mutilated. Uh that's those things happened. That's
Mhm.
all real stuff. And many of us still feel the effects from passed down trauma.
That is
Uh-uh.
true.
Yeah, we do. Many of us hate ourselves
They
because
always
we,
castrated the black man. Did you ever see any of those lynching images?
yes,
He's always castrated.
yeah.
You know what
Why?
type of sick that is sadistic.
That's
Like
beyond me.
seriously, you need that any therapist will tell you that. That's sadistic. And it's even in the pay like that's what I love about history. It's all documented. So
Hmm.
this stuff can be fact checked. The man's penis, like you know how sick you have to be to grab it and cut it off and just wave it around like that is sadistic and that's sick. And that was somebody's mother, brother, sister who did that.
Hmm.
That was a human being who did that and was proud of it and passed that same type of temperament on to their kids. That's
And
insane.
and then now they're wearing MAGA hats. I mean,
Uh,
it's the same lineage. It's the same hate. They
I,
just can't get away with it as easy. Do you remember in the 90s there was a guy, was it his name Bird? He was dragged in
James
Texas. Yeah.
Bird.
Yeah.
James Bird.
Yeah. He was tied to a back of a truck, right?
I remember that. In
Yeah.
Texas.
In Texas. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I remember that. Jasper, Texas.
Jasper, Texas. And
Yeah,
Dennis Rodman paid for his funeral, I
yeah.
believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and these kind of things happen.
Yeah.
We lived through Trayvon Martin and yeah,
That's some sick hate. Like how do you get that upset? Like what is it? Well, you know what they say about racism, right? And you Freudian people, you should know that what you really hate, that's what you really desire. You know, that is what they say. That's what the Freudians say. So
yeah,
what is
yeah.
going on? Where does this deep-seated resentment come from? You don't know this person. You don't know anything about this person. All you see is their phenotype. And what does this resentment animosity comes from? Right? That is what the people who study that content subject say. What you really despise is what you really like. That's what you really want. That deep down, that's what you want to be.
Mm.
And that's kind of what I used to think when Mrs. Obama used to get all that type of venom from people.
Ooh,
I would think like, what? This woman is an attorney, sophisticated class. You're jealous. This is about jealousy.
yes. I think they people viewed her as being uppity, but she was just a person, an educated person.
Yeah.
There was so it made you feel a certain way. Why?
Yeah. It's
I, I,
insecurity.
I, I don't know. She never rubbed me the wrong way.
That's insecurity, right? And that's a lot of power. And I think more people should be happy that they have that much power, right? If you are that good at what you do that you make someone else feel a certain type of way, that's the other person's problem, not yours. You shouldn't have to dumb yourself down to make them feel better. They're the one who needs a therapist.
It's sad. You know, bringing up Michelle Obama made me think about a point I missed earlier. You talked about knowing Trump. Trump was silent until Obama became president.
Ah,
Remember?
I
Like
do.
you didn't really hear from him. All of a
Yes.
sudden, he's chirping. He's like, he was a former Democrat, right?
I remember. And most people don't know that.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know he was a Democrat.
He lost his mind when Obama became president. He was so angry. He was the one about the birth certificates and all that stuff, right?
Yes,
He started
yes.
that charge. I think Trump is a microcosm of what many of the many people in America feel. We're losing our grip. There's no way they let one in the White House. Like what is going on? We got to get him out of here. It was a job held by white man forever, and they lost it. So I think a lot of people panicked and freaked out. Meanwhile, the guy was one of the best presidents. It's funny, I like to read those every so often they have these scholars rank all of the presidents,
Oh, nice.
and it changes from year to year, but the constants, are Lincoln's number one, uh, so forth and so on. But
Mhm.
even Republicans, Obama is no less than number 15
Mhm. Yeah.
all time presidents.
Right.
Even Republican scholars are saying for the things that he did,
Right.
this is based on what you did in office.
Yeah.
I've seen him in 10, 11, 12. I've never seen him lower than 15 on these things.
Mhm.
And, but there's a perception that he ruined the country and we have to make it great again.
And
That,
qualified.
yeah.
And qualified. And that is what aggravates me a little bit. People who can't read, write, spell, know 2 times 2
Mm.
have the audacity to say someone else isn't qualified. President Barack Obama was qualified to hold the job. Hillary Clinton was qualified to hold the position. John McCain was qualified to hold the position. So that is what aggravates me. I'm like, these people don't have a clue on what it takes to be president, but you're so judgmental on the job.
They hear it somewhere, they hear it on Fox News and repeat it. It's not a no. They said he was a community act. What was the term they used? A community organizer
Organizer.
when he was actually a senator at that time, right? When he was
Yep,
running,
he was.
he was a lot of things.
Yeah,
He was a lawyer. I mean,
yeah.
he was qualified,
He
and
was
he
a
did it.
professor at the University of Chicago.
Yes, professor. He did a lot of. We can't agree with everything a politician does.
Right.
There's a lot of things he did I did not like.
Same here.
There's a lot of things he did I loved. Um, yeah, for all those gung ho patriotic people, he doesn't get nearly enough credit for the Bin Laden thing.
Nope. Nope. People
like,
forget all about it.
like Bush had 9 years to get. Hold on, it was 2001.
8.
Bush left in 2008. His 7 years, missed him, kept missing Bin Laden. He
I
kept missing
remember.
him.
Yeah.
This guy comes in, boom, like
Yeah.
off the bat, a year in, they got him. And it was a tough call. That was not an
Mhm.
easy. They literally had to sneak over there and do
Yeah.
that thing in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
He did what Bush couldn't do. Um, I know healthcare is a funny thing for people, but excuse me, I think it's noble to try and give people affordable healthcare. That's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
agree.
I know a lot of people see that as communism.
Socialism.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever say, yeah, well, yeah.
Socialism, communism, but
Yeah.
I think it helps people.
Yep.
I think he did good things.
Mhm.
So uh, the hatred is just comical. I think it was a bunch of people who felt they were losing their grip on what was theirs.
Yeah, healthcare, I'm healthy, but I do think it would be nice that everyone had access to it, or, some way, somehow, because believe it or not, healthcare is a hurdle for a lot of people
Yeah.
in this nation. It really is. But, those companies, those lobbyists, they have a lot of power.
Yep.
They make a lot of money.
Hmm.
I don't think we'll ever see that
No, we
in the
won't.
United States.
Like complete free healthcare?
Yeah, I don't think that'll ever
No,
happen.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. There's no chance.
Not like
But
Canada.
not like Canada. I don't even know if we want it like that, but um there's no way. It's all about money. Who makes the most money?
Right.
If it doesn't benefit, if somebody's not is making less money, it's a problem. So no, we won't see it. But I thought that was a noble thing and a great thing to stand on for his campaign.
Right.
But, he said he was going to close Guantanamo. It's still open, right?
It
You know,
is.
I
Well,
mean, I,
yes,
I don't
yes.
I don't think you can close it, but he said a lot of things that he didn't do. Uh, call it like it is.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
I didn't like the interference in Africa and Libya.
No, in Libya,
It was
Gaddafi.
made a mess. There's no way he should have done that
Mm.
or not intervene on behalf of
Hmm.
Gaddafi, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, again, I can criticize the guy I voted for, right?
Right, right. And that's healthy. That's healthy.
Yeah.
It's not saying, but you just did the right thing. That's not what Joe Rogan, you mentioned that, he said no airplanes during, what did he say?
The
Revolution.
Revolutionary War or something like that. Yeah.
Wrong. Right?
Yeah.
No, you can criticize that. You're not justifying the issue in Libya with
Right.
former President Obama. That could have been done differently, and in fact, avoided. You
Yep.
know, Gaddafi, I can have an entire segment on Gaddafi. He wanted to make a united states of Africa at one
Yep.
point.
Yeah.
Um, but we know what happened with that.
I have a friend from Ghana, and he told me, he said, people in Africa love Gaddafi.
Yep.
He said, when I got here, I was shocked at how many people hated him.
Yep.
I said, well, they painted him as a terrorist, like he blew, the airplane and all that stuff. He's like, man, people loved him there. He said exactly what you're saying. He was trying to unite Africa.
Mhm.
It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that they don't want Africa united.
If the world, the United States, France, United Kingdom, if the world does not have Africa and the resources, everyone's standard of living would change.
Crumble.
Everything from the cobalt to the uranium and what have you. I don't think people realize that Africa supplies the world, everything from our cell phones, electronics.
Right. And that's why China's trying to buy it up now
That's
or
right.
take it over. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and Gaddafi knew that.
Yep.
He knew the power,
Yeah. And they
right?
let him get murdered. I mean, it was sad. Very sad. But
It was. It was.
we started off talking about hip hop, man.
That because hip hop is political,
Yes,
and when
it
you get
is.
into the modern, other than Kendrick, because I like Kendrick,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
hip hop is political, and that was basically the essence of our point,
right,
right? That was the baseline of what we were talking about, is that it started off as this political, the message, right? I
right,
told you my yeah, that's right. He was a racist. My racist professor didn't like that I use that to talk about inner city issues,
right.
because hip hop started off like that. And then it
Mhm,
took a turn, because record companies started to push that new type of violence.
mhm.
That's what they wanted. But that's
Sticks
the
and violence.
problem. That's it. But
Yeah,
that's the problem. That goes back to what you said. You said moments ago that it influences a person. So hip
right.
hop can't, like Chuck D, who is he's my number two. He is,
Mm,
you know, yeah, he influences. He was a baby of the Panthers, right? He's a civil rights baby. Chuck D at his age, he's in his 50s now. No, he's in
60,
his 60s. Yeah, 60s.
63, maybe. I don't know. He's definitely
60s.
60.
You're right, you're right. So he's a product of the civil rights movement, right? So
Mhm,
his parents raised him on that information, so that produced him, right? And then
mhm.
as a result, he influenced us as listeners,
Yep.
and then we are able to influence another generation. But then something changed, right? So now you have the drill. In some part, we call it drill in the Midwest and Chicago,
Yeah.
but in other parts they call it trap. But
Right.
so it changes, and maybe that was by design also. I really I can't have an answer for that, because at the end of the day you do have the artist who's performing the music. So they need to take some of that responsibility. But what I do know is the positive influence of hip hop that we grew up on influenced us to be who we are today. And that's a
Yes,
fact, right? We have
that
an
is a fact.
entire generation of people who are in our age group who grew up on those positive hip hop artists, and that's why I am who I am. Right?
Mm,
That's why you are who you are. That's why the
yes.
majority of my circle, that's why they are who they are. But then you have a new generation who they want to be the drill rappers or they want to be the sexy reds. That is the bad influence. And that's where you said it's okay to criticize it because you know both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I'm coming off too harsh
Right.
on the younger generation because well maybe they just don't know. Maybe that's just something that they need to educate themselves on because if your favorite artist is being exploited to be a tart and all this other sexualized stuff, you're following in behind that. Why does the black female artist always have to be that? Right? There was you we remember the neo soul movement of the
Hmm.
Badus, like that is the opposite of sexy red, right? Why
Yes.
why why are why does this have to be promoted? And maybe it's not for me to understand. Again, it's not for me.
You know, I don't know. I don't want to be that old man.
Right.
Y'all, I think there's a place for everything. There are people like Sexy Red, but there should be more diversity promoted in the mainstream. That's the issue. There's other, you don't see Rhapsody doing that. There's Cyrock,
Yeah.
Shay Noir.
Hmm.
There's so many dope MCs, ladies that I've got to interview. Yara.
Mm.
Um, I just interviewed a rhyme style troupe from California. There's a lot of dope MCs who are beautiful physically and they don't have to talk about it or flaunt it or anything. The issue, the selling point is the music, and that's what we need to get back to. But I don't want to. I don't. I'll tell you another old uh story. I went to a concert at the International Amphitheater. I think it was 1989, and literally it was the DOC, Slick Rick, Two Live Crew, and EPMD.
Luke
You,
with Two Live Crew.
yes, Luke Skywalker before he was Luke.
Right, right,
Luke
right.
Skywalker. I was 13. It changed my life, but um,
I'm not even Two Live Crew alone probably
yeah.
changed your life.
Oh yeah, it was wild. I had no business being there. But
No,
my
you did
my
not.
my my, my point is the diversity.
Right.
Everybody was different. And I always tell this story too. In 91, I went to World's Greatest Rap Tour, and literally it was Public Enemy, Ghetto Boys, Naughty by Nature,
Nice.
Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Queen Latifah, Kid and Play, Tribe Called Quest, and Oaktown's 357, right?
Wow.
Like everybody's different. Like, and I recently saw an interview with Willie D from the Ghetto Boys where he said, like Queen Latifah stepped to him. Like, uh, they had a song called "I'm Not a Gentleman" that sampled "Ladies First."
Okay.
I could see how Latifah could be offended by it, right? So Willie D's like "Ladies First." Who the fuck made up that shit? 9 times out of 10, it was a
Yeah. Oh,
beating,
oh,
right?
okay, okay, okay.
Willie D's a fool, right?
Yeah.
I love Willie,
Uh,
but he was out of pocket. And he said Latifah stepped to him on the tour. Like, what was that song about? And he just like, oh, it's I didn't do that. I didn't. The producer did that.
It was AI before AI.
No, he was saying he didn't put the
Right,
actual part or
right,
but that everybody's that you can't Ghetto Boys and Latifah on the same show, like
right.
Naughty and Fresh Prince. Like it was,
Hmm.
we need different things. Everything can't sound the same. But that was 30 some years ago. In the mainstream, it needs to be more diverse.
Hmm.
That's all. And it's for a long time it's been overwhelmingly negative stuff that gets promoted. And we beat the dead horse. It's by design.
Hmm.
But uh I am hopeful because I do see people like Kendrick inspiring a different generation to come after him and push it forward.
Hmm.
So um
Hmm.
no, we'll see. We'll see. I still love hip hop. It's not, I don't love it the way I used to, but I still love it. There's not a day that goes by where I'm not listening to something. I'm always trying to find something new,
Right.
um, something different, and you know, participate, do my part. I just want to do my part.
Hmm. Hmm. I think that's a good point. I also think people maybe need to just start their own record labels
Okay.
because, well, like mainstream, meaning
Oh,
you're right, people do. Because the record companies, your big what, big three? I guess it's about three.
I'm not even
Sony,
sure.
yeah, they're not going to sign that artist who is positive. The chances of them getting signed is small. They want what's going to sell, what's hot right
Right,
now. Because they're always looking for right now. You know, because music is like a fad. You know how it is. It comes and goes.
right,
So they're looking for what's hot right now. So
right.
if you had a group, so you remember back in the day when Kid and Play came out,
Yeah,
all these groups were kind of trying to be Kid and Play-ish. So that's how record companies are. They want the model so they can just keep making it and tell the customer, us, we're the consumer, until we say we don't want it anymore and we find the next shiny thing. So that's kind of what they do. So if they can find 10 Kendricks, so I agree with what you said was excellent. If Kendrick can influence all these people to kind of follow him, and which he has, Tyler the
mhm,
Great and stuff like that you've talked about,
mhm, yeah.
um, then
I
maybe
would,
record companies will find that more attractive and feel like they can, because it's all about money,
yes.
right? So perhaps that's the answer. Perhaps.
I think so. I think that is the answer. And I think you're seeing more, I mean, and not on a mainstream level, but independent artists doing their own labels, putting you can put out an album tomorrow if you wanted to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's so much easier now. Um, but there's nothing like that big major label promotion
Yeah.
where they can get you,
Distribution.
yeah, distribution. They can get you out, get you on the talk shows and get you, on tour and all that stuff. So yeah, we don't see it on that level, but maybe we will. I'm waiting for the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like who's the next big thing?
And they're there. They're out. They're out there. It's just, do they want to do it? No one made Common want to rap like Common. You know,
Mm,
what's the
mm.
rhyme? I want to rap like Common Sense.
But I sold
You know,
5 mil.
but I've been rapping like Common Sense.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
ain't been like common sense. Yeah.
So I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. It perhaps the mold needs to just been bit, needs to break, and then something new.
Yeah. We'll
Keep
see.
living. We'll keep living.
Yeah, God willing. God
Keep
willing.
living. So your website, shout it out to the people.
Yes, therealhiphop.com. Hip hop is hyphenated. Hip-hop.com, therealhiphop.com. it's a mixed bag of things. Like it's all artist interviews, but I do some video stuff. I do my podcast and I do like text Q&As. And yeah, I've been doing it a long time and you know, some dope artists. I make it a point not to talk to whack artists because when I was at the other place, I would talk to anybody and I talked to a lot of artists that were terrible. And it was just for money and clicks, you know. I was like content, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it made me feel like a prostitute. Like it made me feel dirty. Like I'm just doing this for money and these people suck.
Yeah.
So when I started my own website, I was like, I'm not talking to nobody whack. This is gonna be fun for me. So my very first interview, I strategically waited till I got a big one because I knew you can't just have like a little website and expect people to come talk to you.
Right.
I was at Rock the Bells in I think it was the Bay. Yeah, I think it was the Bay. And I got interviewed with Ice Cube. And they told me I had 5 minutes and they really cut me off and it was like three. It was like 2.5 minutes. But I was nervous. I knew it had to be good, but I was limited with time. And I got to meet Ice Cube and talk to him, and he was really, really super cool. And that was the first interview I published. I'm like, this is it. You can't get bigger than this.
No, you can't.
So by me having Ice Cube, other people saw it. I think MC Shan was one of the next people. Spinderella from Salt and Pepper. She early. She came on and talked to me and I got to meet her in person a couple of years ago and I told her, I said, you helped me get my website started. And she's like, oh, really?
All right.
Sweet, super sweet. We took a picture together. She's so nice. But um, having Cube, Shan, Merce, and Fashion, like I had a lot of good people to start with. So it made other people go, okay, I'll talk to him. So I ended up getting Chuck D, Big Daddy King. I talked to Chuck D like 4 times. Um, the Jizza from Wu Tang. You got a couple guys from Wu Tang, Master Killer. Um, so many guys, man. Sadat X, Razcast, um, Elder Sensei. Like I got a good Twister, Rhapsody.
Wow.
There's a lot of legit great artists that I've been lucky enough to have conversations with. And a lot of artists you don't know. So you can go on there, check it out, and you might find somebody you never heard of and you know, fall in love with their music. Big Luca, I definitely recommend. He's incredible from Memphis. Um, God, I got a good one coming up. Justo the MC, incredible. I think he's from Brooklyn.
Okay.
Um, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag of the old with I hate to say the old, the
Classic.
classic, the legends and the up and comers. And yeah, it's a it's a passion thing for me. It's not money. I don't make a dime from it. It's because I love hip hop. And yeah, you can find it therealhip-hop.com and my podcast you can find anywhere. Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts, you can find the realhiphop.com podcast.
Yeah. And they can learn from it. You can introduce them to the legends because some of them won't know who the legends are until they click on your website.
Wow, I never thought of that. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. You could, yeah, if you're younger and you want to know about Big Daddy King, I give a pretty decent look into his career. And same with Chuck and Willie D, MC Light, um, Cool G Rap is on there. Like Master Ace, like so many people. That's I enjoy talking to the new people, but like when I talk to people that I listened to as a kid, like it does, you know, it really does something to me. Like
Yeah.
it's the reason I do it. I talked to Grandmaster D from Houdini a couple of months ago, and
Wow.
yeah, and that was cool. Like, yeah, that was a pretty decent interview, Grandmaster D. Um,
Wow. Impressive.
yeah, yeah, and I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan, and somehow I managed to you know, talk to some of my heroes, musical heroes.
Amazing. Amazing. And they're
Yeah.
nice. Some. The
Yeah.
majority. The majority.
I've never, I've never had a I've never had a bad encounter with uh anybody that I look up to. Big Daddy Kane kind of snipped at me a little bit, but
He was
but
having a bad day.
no, he was having a good day, I think, but I just said something silly. Like that happens. Like sometimes you just say something goofy. And you know, I had Chuck D. I made the mistake of thinking Chuck D was my friend. And I like sent him a text one day and he never responded to me. But DMC, same thing with DMC too. He gave me the runaround. But people got lives, man. It's one thing I learned too. Like I'm busy too. Like we we all got stuff to do.
Right.
And so like those some dude just hitting me up, like, I'm
Yeah.
not dealing with that. So I understand. I understand. But no, everybody has been nice to me. Uh I probably had one negative hip hop encounter,
Yeah.
and it's from somebody that most people wouldn't even know. So I mean, and it's not a classic artist. So I've been very fortunate, very, very fortunate. And they say don't meet your heroes. I met Chuck D. He's the nicest guy. He's super nice.
Mhm.
And Ice Cube, you know, so many of these guys, man. I'm very lucky. I still have some bucket list artists that I want to interview, and hopefully one day I'll get to do that. Um,
Who's your
that
bucket list?
Common first and foremost. Uh, Common definitely. Um, RZA from Wu Tang. Um, Slick Rick,
Okay.
Karis. Um, Karis one Slick. I mean, I would love to say like LL Cool J or something, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. That's not a realistic thing for me.
Never
Y-
know.
You never know. You never know. I never thought I'd be sitting there with Ice Cube either. Like,
That's
yeah,
true.
you never know. But off the rip, Common, RZA, KRS One, um, God, like I put Nas in the LL area. Like that'll never happen. But I would love to talk to Nas. Like people like I'm a super fan of. And there's some other people like people that you wouldn't even know, like on a that you wouldn't know, but not as famous
Hmm.
that I like to interview. There's MC called she used to go by Vel the Wonder, I think. Vel 9. She's from California. Super dope. Uh Never. I've reached out several times. She will not respond to me. But I think she's dope. Like I'm like, okay, I need to talk to her because she could really rap. Um, there's a couple people like that too, but the bucket list, Common, RZA, KRS.
And
Yeah.
that can happen.
I don't, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're still a concert goer, so
Yeah.
those people can be. You can catch those people, kind of.
That's not that ain't how you do it. Nah. That
Look,
is
catch
not how you
those
do it.
people. See if they
Nah.
email you back. See if
You got
they.
to
You
go
know,
through the proper channels. Well, you know what's funny? Most of the time, most of the interviews I do now, publicists will reach out to me.
good.
Some I reach out to the artist myself. Most people don't even reply, negative or positive. Uh, there's been two people that have responded to me negatively, and I'm grateful for it. I wish more people would say, no, I'm not interested, than not talk to me at all, because that seems like mad disrespectful to me.
Right.
But commons people, they're like, nah, we're not interested in doing this. And Grandmaster Caz, the Cold Crush brother.
Right, right.
Yeah. They were like, nah, we'll pass. I'm like, wow. I felt a certain way, like, man, what is Grandmaster Caz up to that he can't talk to me? but
He's
but I
older.
also feel like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for saying something. I
right.
appreciate that. But yeah, there's an Kumo D is another guy that I would love to talk to. And I've
Yes.
reached out to. I think Kumo D has he's so intelligent and has so many stories and underrated as an artist and an
A
MC.
100%.
Um,
A
people forget,
100%.
yeah, Kumo D is incredible. That's a guy I would like to talk to.
Yeah. He got a little bit of praise when Wild Wild West came out. I guess it's
Yeah,
been 15 years now, give or
the
take.
movie,
Remember when Wild Wild West came out when Will Smith did that remake?
I do. I
And
feel like that was in the '90s though. No,
no, no, was it?
had to be.
Okay. But he got a little bit of shine,
Okay,
because Will Smith did the Wild Wild West, and then of course Kumo D did the original Wild Wild
yeah,
West. So people went back a little bit and kind of remembered him, but after that, it was a wrap.
yeah. I don't. He. I think a lot of times with these battles, like the perception is LL beat him in the battle, young guy versus old guy, right? And it kind of like crushed him. But
Mm.
lyrically, Mo D won the battles to me. But even though I love both,
Right.
um, it's hard to be the young, good-looking guy going up against, you know what I mean?
It
Like
is.
if you're the old guy, it's hard. So like Mo D it was just it didn't work out for him, but he had a great career and
He did.
he influenced a lot of people. Like you talk about, Big Daddy King and Jay-Z, Kool Mo D is like the father for Rakim.
Yeah.
And from Rakim comes Nas,
Yeah.
and it's so forth and so on. So Kool Mo D's another one. And if you haven't read his book, it's 20 years old now. He's got to update it. He wrote a book called There's a God on the Mic,
Okay.
the true 50 greatest MCs. So he lists his 50 greatest. This is from '03, so it's, a little dated. But he gives his criteria for each person. And, it's all debatable. Some of it I was like, come on, man. Like, what are
Right,
you
right, right,
what are
right.
you doing? Like, especially when he lists himself, but um, you know, very good read. There's a God on the mic.
I
Check
will
that out.
check it out. So that's on my list, and
Yeah.
Black Thought just came out with
Yes.
a new book, and that's on my
Yeah.
list also.
Yeah, I copped that too. I haven't had the chance to read. It's been difficult for me to
Black Thought. Yeah.
get back into reading. Somebody else wrote a book that I bought and haven't touched. Isn't there another rapper with a book? God,
I know Sly from Sly and the Family Stone.
I bought that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Questlove was
Yeah.
responsible for that.
That is
Yeah.
right. That's right. And I have to get that. So I have three that I have to
God,
cop.
three.
Um and yeah, so yeah. But I didn't know
Bullwhip days. Get bullwhip days.
four.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, I didn't know Kumo D wrote that book. Or I didn't man,
Yeah, it was
2003. Wow.
2003, yeah. And I remember him saying, I won't rank Eminem and DMX and stuff because they're new, at the time in the book. It's like, wow, like 20 years ago. It's crazy. But
Right.
yeah, he lists his 50 greatest MCs and has his own criteria and stuff. It's very interesting. Very interesting. I like to hear from people who actually participate,
Right.
you know. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Um, there's a lot of things he said I don't agree with, but it is what it is. I'm a big Kumo D fan.
He
Big
is.
boy.
He probably won't make the Hall of Fame, but
No, but he should. I mean, it's with hip hop, it's so tough. Like they put Grandmaster Flash in the Furious Five, right?
yeah,
And then they jump right to Run DMC. Like Treacherous 3 was not as big as the Furious Five, but on a street level, they were influential. Like if you listen to Big Daddy Kane, if you listen to KRS-One, if you listen to even Rakim, they're all derivatives of Cool Mo D. Like
yeah.
um I don't and Melly Mel too. Um he's influential. And
Hmm.
in his time he got two platinum records. Like I think he had a pretty dope career, but I don't know about Hall of Fame. Ah, we need our hip hop Hall of Fame. I know they're building that, right? I think they're building that in New York.
It's long overdue.
Yeah. Yeah.
2000. Well, now, yeah, it's
Yeah.
long overdue. I think that's something that what part of which borough is it? Well, of
I'm not
course,
sure. I'm not sure if it's the Bronx or what, but
it makes sense.
yeah. 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 But
um,
you know, we definitely need too often, and I'm guilty of this, like seeking outside validation. It definitely needs to be like hip hop people celebrating hip hop people.
right,
Because,
right.
you don't have to explain Kumo D to
You
somebody
don't.
who is hip hop,
That's right.
you know. But yeah, uh, we talked a lot. Like again, somebody might watch this and go, "What about Tupac? What about Biggie? What about?" I love all them dudes. It's so
Same.
hard to say 10. Um, there could be, 20 more guys and girls like Lauryn Hill,
Yeah,
Snoop Dogg, Busta Rhymes. There's so many people I love. Everybody, Melly Mel's, the Kumo D's, the Red Man. Like I love Red Man. He's
absolutely.
incredible. Like there's so many dope people. Um, Guru. Uh, the people who never get mentioned, like Heavy D. You know,
Wow, right. Is it he was originally from Jamaica? Or is
I
he
think he
from
is.
Jamaica?
I think
Okay.
he is. Yeah, yeah.
You're
And
right. And he changed the game.
so he was Biggie before Biggie.
That's what
He was doing the sexy
he
big
was.
man stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was,
It's hilarious.
he was.
He
He was
was dancing.
super dancing, incredible, just slept on lyricist. Yeah,
Hmm.
so many dope people have contributed. MC Light, uh,
Guess he
God,
made it before MC Light.
yeah, I don't think MC Light's gonna make it, but
No, that's not gonna
she's to
happen.
me, she's the best lady MC. It's the
Mhm.
best female rapper ever to me, MC Light. And I love Lauren. I love Latifah. So many people have
Yeah,
contributed. It's really hard to cut it down. And I have not like mentioned Run DMC or
I
like,
know.
like,
Run DMC was an entire movement. Like
yeah.
I still think Adidas owe those men
Um,
royalties.
I think they paid him for a
Oh, did
time. I
they
think they
they should have. And
in
they should still be
86.
playing 86.
Yeah, I think so. In '86, they had a deal with them, but I'm not sure what that. I know I ran into DMC at a NBA All-Star weekend, and he was doing a concert for Adidas. So I think they still kind of look out
Yes.
for him at least. I don't know about Ryan, but
Wrong.
they look out for him. But yeah, icons. I love those guys.
Man.
Um, I love Too Short.
Yeah.
Like
Oakland.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
Oakland.
mean, Too Short is a icon. I mean, Ghetto Boys, Outkast. Um, there's been so many people that contributed, and it's so hard to make a list. It's
And that's a
just
good thing.
yeah, yeah, it's
That's a
hard.
good thing. When you have so many cooks in the kitchen, excuse me, that's a good
Yeah,
thing. That
yeah,
people and maybe that's what's beautiful about hip hop, unlike any other genre, if I may.
yeah,
So For example, rock and roll.
Hmm.
Most people can say that what we call rock and roll today came from the blues, and people usually
Yes.
pick people like Muddy Waters and
Hmm.
Sister Rosetta Thorpe to say they started it and everybody else is a copycat.
Right.
Same thing with country music. You can say this came from the same blues, repackaged, and everybody else is a copycat. But with hip hop, too many contributors. Too many people
Well,
changed it.
I'll give that to Rakim, but I know what you're saying.
That's your guy. I
And
like Rakim
no, I'm it's not. I would say Common's my guy. Like Common's like my favorite rapper,
of all
but
time, like number one.
he's my favorite. Who I think is the best is Rakim.
But
Uh,
Common is, and
my favorite.
it's not Chicago bias.
It might be a little bit because it's not totally Chicago bias. Like the music has to be good. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
people from Chicago I don't listen to.
Same.
But I think he's a couple years older than me. He might be 4 years older than me, but it's like I feel like through music, he's talk he's talking about my life. Like for me, it's like his music resonates with me.
Yeah.
And it's probably because we grew up in the same place doing the same stuff.
Yep.
Uh his latter music, not so much. We're in different places. He's a Hollywood guy now. I'm just a regular Joe.
Yeah. No, you're
Uh
not, but okay.
I mean, but thank you. But I think he's in a different place now. But his early music, it's like we were experiencing some of the same things,
Hmm.
and it resonated with me. And music, I remember Ice-T said this about Tupac on one of those VH1 shows. He said the greatest rapper isn't the one who raps the best; it's the one that touches people. And it's a perspective.
Hmm.
Uh, I understand it. Like Tupac touched people.
He
Well,
did.
for me, Common touches me
Hmm.
uh on a certain level. Like, there's so many songs where I'm like, man, this dude is living my life. And it's probably like a lot of black men in Chicago that would say, yeah, okay, I went through that, you
Yes.
know? So yeah. And I just think you see it in him. He loves it. You see him
Hmm.
perform, he's breakdancing. Like
Yeah.
he's like, he is hip hop. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's my favorite. But I think Rakim really changed everything. Like really he really changed everything. It's just, and
He
he was
did.
stellar for, you know, 87 to 92. Stellar.
And that's not a, and he
Mhm.
still looks good. He still
Yeah.
looks 25, you
He still
know.
looks good. Yeah, he's getting up there, man. He's got
He
to be 55, right?
he's up,
50,
yeah.
50
But
something. Yeah.
I agree. He's a lyricist. He can take the microphone thing.
Yeah, yeah,
He said
microphone
it.
fiend.
So
That's another one. I think everybody can recite microphone fiend.
yeah, yes, that is a fact.
Yes.
And you almost want to. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. It's like certain
Mhm.
songs you want to know the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's it's magic. It's
Yeah.
magic.
It's definitely magic. But yeah,
It's magic.
I agree with you about hip hop. And there's so many contributors, you can't pin it down.
Hmm.
I know what you're saying. And yeah, it's 50 years. It's hopefully it just keeps evolving to a better place.
That's right. And again, mention your website so people can check it out.
Thank you. TheRealHipHop.com, and hip and hop hyphenated. So TheRealHip-Hop.com. The podcast is the realhiphop.com podcast, and it's on Apple and Spotify and all that stuff, and um SoundCloud everywhere. And yeah, therealhiphop.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Sherron Shabazz, SherronShabazz. Same thing on Twitter. And yeah, stay up with me because I talk to some dope people.
Absolutely. The best and the brightest. And you will get your bucket list, by the way.
God willing.
You will.
God
You will get your bucket list. Absolutely. The people will check you out. You have a lot of information on your website. They will all be able to appreciate it. And above all, they'll be able to learn something. Because a lot of people who go to your website won't even know some of the people that we talked about until they
Right.
click on it, and they'll be enlightened
I hope so.
by the geniuses that
Mm,
you brought to them. So you should be proud of that.
I am. I am. Thank you.